Hello there, my name's Neil David and I'm the host of Eurograps Express, the podcast exclusively dedicated to the wrestling of Europe. If it's wrestling and it happens in Europe and it's good, we talk about it. Whether it's Rev Pro, Progress, WXW, Passion Pro, Pro Wrestling Chaos, Pro Wrestling North, we don't care, we talk about them all. If it's good and it's exciting, I want to share it with you. We're on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Check us out on the feed. Check us out on Twitter at EuroGrapsEXP. And join us for chat about European wrestling and a little bit of chat about cheese. Hopefully see you there.
Music. It's not just part of our daily lives, it's part of our wrestling fandom as well, and it has been for decades. That's where this show comes in. Music of the Mat, the podcast devoted exclusively to the music of pro wrestling. Hosted by Andrew Rich. Hey, that's me. Each episode delivers a different topic with a variety of great guests, fun conversations, musical analysis, and of course, a heartfelt pun or two. New episodes drop every other Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice. Check out Music of the Mat only on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Here we go! Kiss me like I'm love song. Sora no mukami. Kimi ga kata omoi. Namida no shitsure mo. Give me fire, give me double chatters.
You're listening to the Emerald Flow Show on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Flow Show. We are a podcast on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. I'm your host, Paul Felch, and as you might have figured out already, normally it would be the dulcet tones of one Gerard the Trollio greeting you here at the beginning of the show. Unfortunately, Gerard is a bit busy at the moment, so he wasn't able to make it to the recording. So instead I thought, you know what? We've already had some experience with some excellent guest hosts. So I immediately reached out to one of our recent guests, actually, to invite him back onto the show after rave reviews for his first appearance on the show. So I would like to welcome back to the show one Andrew Sinclair.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's excited to be back and talk all things Noah and all Japan, although I'll let you do the GLEAT stuff on your own, Paul, because I feel like it's a cathartic thing that you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe we'll see. We'll see about that. But yes, there is an absolute boatload of stuff we have to cover. There's so many different topics, as Andrew's already touched upon. We will even talk about a bit of GLEAT. Not as positive as I would have wanted to be, but it's going to be something. I think there's actually going to be a lot of ranting going on the show, because I think let's just go straight into the first topic, which I think will also be the cause for some rants, and that is what happened to one Kaito Kiyomiya in the G1 climax of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So, if for some reason you're not aware, Kaito Kiyomiya is participating in this year's G1 Climax in New Japan, which is why he's not in the N1, because he specifically said that he wanted to focus on the G1. And also recently, just a few days ago, New Japan wrapped up the block part of the tournament, where Kaito Kiyomiya was still in play on the final block night. There were many different scenarios being brought up, such as, for example, him going to a decision match with Shota Umino if they both win on the final block night, which would have caused them to create an unbreakable tie and would have most likely caused a decision match. Now, unfortunately, that is not what happened. So basically, the scenario in the final block night was that Hikuleo was winning in, and Hikuleo indeed won on the final block night, but that didn't even matter because Kaito Kiyomiya lost on the final block night to Renarita, which meant that he was eliminated from the G1 Climax, making him yet again even more of a geek than we really possibly thought he really could have been. He goes to the G1 with all of this big hype, with all of this big thing about like, yeah, I'm going there, I'm going to represent the ARC, going to get revenge on Kazuchika Okada. And that's also, I would like to say, what New Japan specifically also built all of like Kaito's material around in the lead up to the show as well, in the lead up to the tournament as well. Because I've seen it kind of thrown around that like, yes, obviously it's not New Japan's business to properly protect Kaito Kiyomiya. Like, he's not that guy, he's not signed to them. Like, he can basically, like, if they want to bury him and kind of damage their relationship with Noah potentially, like, that's their prerogative. It's their show. So they can book it really however they like. And it really would have been up to Pro Wrestling Noah to really, like, properly push against Kaito being geeked out in the tournament. And I mean, as we can kind of see, they probably don't really care that much about Kaito, and that's why they didn't really protect him here. Now, where we'll push back against that a little bit is that normally if an outsider comes into a tournament like this, they don't really have a established story in the promotion. Well, Kaito entered the tournament with an established story, and that is the fact that he wanted to get revenge on Okada. And again, that's how New Japan sold his involvement in the tournament as well. Like, that's what all of his material was about. So, New Japan using that to build him up for the tournament and then ultimately refusing to even get him remotely close to fulfilling that story is on them. It's not on them to protect him in the booking. What is on them is telling a bad story, and I think New Japan told a bad story here. So really, this is kind of a scenario where everyone lost. I think New Japan lost on a potentially money-drawing match on them against Okada, in Kaito versus Okada. Kaito obviously lost because he looks like even more of a geek now. Noah lost because, well, they just had one of the like young and up-and-coming guys, like a former two-time champion, former two-time tournament winner, not even advance out of the block in New Japan. And we as the viewers lost out as well because we lost a potentially really great match of the year contender in said Kaito vs Okada, and instead we got like the Nepo baby and Hikuleo advancing out of the block, which really is just about the worst case scenario there. So yeah, I don't know. Just for me, just a complete failure all around. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it, Andrew?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think I had assumed that he was going through the block at the start because my assumption was he's only going to be in the tournament if it's to set up the Okada match. Because then they can run a second singles match, probably in the semi-finals. Kaito can win that, and then you've got the opportunity to do a third match at the Dome, which I think would be really cool. Or Kaito can go off that, probably losing in the final of the G1, and he goes back to Noah feeling invigorated and all that stuff, and certainly feeling more of a serious guy and less of the geek that he has come across as in Noah for quite a while. And in the end, it's just not worked out. It started out really well, 2 wins and then the time limit draw with Shota Umino in his third match. And you're like, right, okay, 5 points. Second in the block behind Sanada, who obviously eventually went 7-0. And you thought, okay, Kaito is being well looked after here. He beat Suji on the first night. Like, he looks like he's going to be respected as a top guy in the block, and then he never won again. Lost to Hikuleo, lost to Sanada, which, I thought the Sanada match was really, really good. Went to the time limit draw with Gabe Kidd. Well, not time limit draw, sorry, the double count out with Gabe Kidd. And then, lost on the final night to Ren Narita. The work was good. He, I think, pound for pound, is one of the best workers in the tournament. It's no surprise, really, because he's, one of the most talented guys in the world. But yeah, they made him look like an absolute dork. He lost all of his tiebreakers. There's no big match coming out of it. And to me, the way it worked out, I think you can lay that at the foot of Noah, lay that at their door, because that's your guy. That's your ace, your future. And you've basically sent him off to be jobbed out. And it's like, why has that happened? Is that because they don't care, which is feasibly true because of the way he's been treated for years, or is it because he's going and they didn't care? So they were like, New Japan can have him. It creates some intrigue around their tournament, but he's leaving anyway. So, we might as well, let him stink up the joint in their tournament or whatever, and they get the blame rather than him being in the N1 and maybe doing a bunch of jobs. So, I don't know, but that's the thing I suppose that will make it even worse, is if he's not leaving Noah to go to WWE, which seems like the thing that's in play, and he just goes back to Noah after having a dreadful G1 and being made to look like an absolute dork, he's actually in a worse position in terms of, from a kayfabe point of view than he was before. So yeah, I just think it looks bad on New Japan, it looks bad on Noah, it looks bad on him, and I guess that means he's going into an early retirement because he's probably going to the WWE. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree as well. You kind of brought it up already, like if he's leaving. So, but if he's leaving and I'm Noah, then I actually would want him even more to be in the N1 this year, because I would just drop him out. Maybe I wouldn't drop him out to everyone. I wouldn't have him go get 0 points, but I would I don't know, I would look at let's say A block. I'll take out I don't know, an Adam Brooks maybe, or as much as I like him, but a Thatcher maybe isn't necessarily essential in there, even if he's a champion. I would take someone basically, and I would then drop him out to Inamura. I would drop him out to Morris. I would have him lose again to Jake and hope that maybe it helps Jake at least a little bit more or whatever. Or you put him in B block, whatever. There's so many things he can do, but basically I would just use him to put over a bunch of guys on the way out. Because really, if he's leaving, then Noah isn't helped by him being losing in the G1. If anything, that just hurts the perception of Noah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just you just sent a guy over and he was just kinda there.
Yeah, they essentially made him New Japan's problem and not theirs. But yeah, I mean, in many ways, it's not on New Japan to book him strongly. They got him in. It ups the quality of their field, and to be honest, they probably needed it, given some of the incredibly poor workers that have been in the tournament, Tangaloa. But really, they just used him to elevate the guys that they see as their kind of future pieces of the puzzle in, the Three Musketeers and Hikuleo. So, in many ways, New Japan have got a great return out of it without having to basically job out a bunch of their guys to someone from a rival promotion. And I don't know if you saw the Block B final, but Kevin Kelly on commentary absolutely buried Kaito and buried Noah in one of the prelim tags when it was Kaito teaming with Oiwa, I think it was, against Dookie and Sanada. He just absolutely buried them and basically was just it was the whole calling wrestling as a sport thing, where it was basically he was their top guy, he was their top star. He's come here and he couldn't compete and he wasn't even that hard a block. So, yeah, it was so strange. So strange that it ended the way we did. I think, especially as everybody had sort of worked themselves into a shoot that it was going to be the Kiyomiya Umino decision match. The fact it didn't happen obviously provoked a large reaction, but yeah.
Because that would
Kelly's
have been a
commentary
very entertaining thing, right? Like the reason people work themselves into a shoot, because it's like something that New Japan doesn't really ever do. So it would have been like something interesting and new, which is something that New Japan very much did throughout this tournament. So
Yeah,
with them just going with
exactly.
like Bad Luck Fale 2.0 is disappointing.
Yeah, and also, it would have elevated Umino because I think his work has improved tremendously over the last 6 months. And, he would have already had the time limit draw. So, if he'd then gone on to lose in a longer form decision match, it wouldn't have hurt him because his credibility had already risen. So, yeah, very strange.
Yeah.
Very, very strange. And I don't know, the Kevin Kelly thing, obviously, the commentary, there's obviously a directive to say certain things. And he obviously knows what's going on and all that kind of thing. And I don't know, it seemed a bit too on the nose for me. Like, I know Chris Charlton tried to rein him in a bit, but it seemed a bit too pointed. But yeah, I'm just trying to imagine a scenario where Noah were like, oh, you can have him, and then there was no directive about the booking.
I mean, that might legitimately be the case. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
seems
well,
to be
exactly,
the thing
that's
where they
what I
like
mean.
legitimately were just like, yeah, sure, here he is, whatever.
Because that's what I mean. That's the worst case scenario. Because if he's not leaving, and you just let him to go to New Japan to kind of strengthen business ties between the two of you, and we're like, oh, you don't have to put him through the block. Like, surely, if you want, in theory, a promotional partner, or however you want to term it, you would want him to go out the block.
Yeah.
I know the AEW New Japan relationship is different. Eddie Kingston might not go out of his block, but he's got the strong title. So there's obviously continuity of the booking there. Whereas with Kaito, it was just like, oh, seemingly just a shrug. Like, as long as he's not bottom, it doesn't matter.
And Kingston also
yeah.
didn't have like an established story there that would have made sense as well. Like, for example, like there wasn't like something like, okay, like they were never going to do like him versus Kenta in like a semifinal. Like, that's not happening.
No, exactly. And it just basically makes Kiyomiya look like a loser, which I didn't think it was possible for him to look any less cool than he did before.
Well, in that case, Andrew, I don't know if you've seen Pro Wrestling Noah has kind of changed their YouTube thumbnails recently to be a lot more clickbaity, I think is really like the easiest way of saying this. And on the same day Kaito Kiyomiya was eliminated from the G1, Noah uploaded to the English language YouTube channel a video about Yuma Anzai, who was in the N1, entitled The Hope of Japan, Yuma Anzai, which I have to say, like, Noah just, in a way, just immediately buried Kaito even more than I think New Japan even did by just having him go out in the G1 in this way. Because you have this young guy under contract, right? Like, he's been a 2-time champion. He's still like 27 or whatever he is now. And here's this guy from a rival promotion that, yes, you have a close working relationship with. That is it, but that just happens to be in your tournament. But you just label him as the hope of Japan. Just, I don't know, just immediately just like making Kaito look like such old news, basically.
Yeah, and the fact Anzai's still literally a rookie.
Yes.
He's literally been doing this professionally for 11 months. And you're like, here's the new shiny toy. He still wears black trunks. The other guy who looks like Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, he can get in the bin. Yeah, bizarre. I saw the woman who, she's on the Japanese commentary for Noah. Is it Rina?
Yeah.
She said that Yuma Anzai was her favourite as well. And I was like, yep, there he is, the heartthrob. There he is, front and centre, Kaito in the bin. Goodbye. I hope you enjoy your retirement at the Performance Centre.
Yeah.
Because that's got to be where this is going.
I mean,
right?
That's like the best case scenario at this point.
Yeah, he's carrying Muto's bags. Doesn't go because he's concussed. But, like, that's definitely what that was for.
Yeah.
Was, old Kaiji doing him one last favour. He'd already, beaten him several times to put him over. And then he gave him the Shining Wizard and made him look like an absolute noob. And now he gets to follow in the lineage of all the other Japanese wrestlers who've had tremendous success in the WWE, because they are totally respected and not treated as caricatures and a joke.
Yeah.
But never mind. That's a rant for another day.
And I mean, also especially ones that, I mean, let's face it, like a lot of the stuff on like Kaito getting pushed like shit is on like the promotions, but like it's on him as well, right? Like, because he just doesn't seem to have that personality that just pushes back against this kind of stuff, which means that he's like 110% the wrong person to go to WWE. Because if they know that they can push you around, they will, and they will do it even worse than Noah ever did.
Yep. Exactly, because you're not going to get pushed harder than, you look at what they're bringing through in NXT. I don't like it. I think the product's terrible. But, like, you're not going to be pushed harder or to the same level as a Bron Breakker or, the guys that are coming through that NXT system, because, like, they've never demonstrated any inclination to do that. You'll end up, at best, like Nakamura, but he's not at the level of Nakamura, so he's going to be further down the totem pole. And then it's like, okay, well, you're just another guy. Whereas if you were at home and you had more of a backbone, you could have been something. But yeah, it's just not a great look all round. And I think if he goes back to Noah now, I think it undermines him if you immediately try and push him as a top guy, because it's like, well, clearly not. So,
like, that's actually okay. Let's just go on that real quick as well, because I kind of wanted to touch on that after we talked about the show, but I think let's talk about that now, because you want to know my absolute worst case scenario for the like outcome of the N1. So
okay,
my absolute worst outcome out of the N1 is Jake Lee wins, and then Kaito reappears and challenges for the title and wins. Like, that just makes Loa look like such a like bottom, like third rate promotion. Because here's this guy who just lost all of his like tiebreakers too. Like, he literally finished like, he's the last guy out of the ones with 6 points. Like, he finished just ahead of like Chase Owens.
Yeah.
And that guy now comes into your promotion, challenges the guy who just beat everyone in your big tournament, and then he beats that guy. That just makes your entire roster look like shit.
Yeah, and it also means that basically by the time he'd actually challenged, the last 7 months have basically been a complete waste of time for everybody involved, because Jake's had a bunch of matches with the old guard that haven't drawn, and Kaito's dicked about not doing a lot, went to the G1, got treated like a twat, and then he comes back, and then we're back to where we were when he beat Jack Morris in February. And it's like, great. All the good work that Nakajima, Go, Keno, my boy Dr. Wagner, it's just like, oh good, here comes Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat again. So yeah, I mean, that is the worst case scenario. And in many ways, I think that's the worst case scenario for all involved, because if he is going back to Noah full time, it's like, right, well, now you are genuinely in a worse position than you were before. Whereas at least if he's leaving, it's like, okay, well, fine, you're winding him down. But yeah, not good. Not good. Especially when Noah needs all the help they can get based on the attendance of this first N1 show.
For sure. No, like, just quick, and then I think we'll need to move on. I think the one thing you can do if he does return, if he isn't leaving, is you kind of have to turn him heel. Like, you have to do something, right? Because clearly what you're doing right now isn't working. So you have to do something, and I feel like, I don't know if he could be a good heel. I don't think so. Like, there's nothing really show me that he could be. But you know what? He would be the first guy where, like, you thought, I don't think this guy could ever be a great... Like, for example, like, right, like, Park. Everyone always thought, like, oh yeah, this guy's just a baby face. There's no way he could be a good heel. And then he turned heel once, and he never turned face again because he's so good at it. So, who knows? Maybe he has it somewhere hidden in him. Maybe try that, but that's about the only thing he can do if he's not leaving.
Yeah, like a Noah House of Torture with Kaito as the heel at the top and a new faction. Because I know you and Gerard last time were talking about kind of the absence of factions in Noah. So maybe that's what we need, is like a greasy shitbag heel faction led by babyface Kaito as the bad guy.
Heavyweight Stinger. He already teams
That's
with them loads. Like, so actually it doesn't.
Maybe
not
that's
out of the
it.
question,
Maybe
yeah.
that's it. There you go. We solved it.
Oh God. Okay, we'll see. We'll see about that. Okay, but let's do a quick touch on the before we get to the N1 show. Noah announced a junior tag title contender tournament, where actually on the show on the 9th and on the show of the 10th, we're going to have the first round matches, which are Yohei and Tadasuke versus Shuji Kondo and Seiki Yoshioka. And then on the 10th, we have Kotoge and High 69 versus Amaxa and Junta Miyawaki. Then the winner of those matches will face off on the 11th. And then the winner of that match will challenge Rich Ray and Daga on the N1 final show. So I actually like the teams that they've put in here. I think all of those matches have potential to be pretty fun. But I also don't really have a good feeling for like who is actually going to emerge out of this tournament as challengers.
No. So all four were involved in basically the non-tournament matches on the opening night of the N1.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether conventional booking wisdom is that the way it went on the opening night is the opposite way to the way it's going to go in the tournament. So in essence, Yohei and Tadasuke lost on the 6th, so they probably win on the 9th, and they face Amakusa and Junta Miyawaki. But I did notice that in the post-match comments after the opening night, Amakusa basically called Junta Miyawaki a loser.
I mean, he's not wrong.
And he basically was like, you don't show... I'm very, very paraphrasing here, but it was basically like, you don't show the right levels of fighting spirit and enthusiasm and all that stuff. And although you've looked better recently, I still don't really like teaming with you. So maybe in the future, the next time we face each other, it should be in a singles match. So you would assume that means they're probably going to lose.
Maybe.
But I don't know whether they're going to do like a can they coexist type thing. But yeah, I don't know. In many ways, it would be really annoying if Yohei and Tadasuke win, and it's literally like they lost the titles. You've run this tournament, and then you go back to the same match again. I don't know. I guess my pick is that they go with High 69 and Kotoge, because obviously High 69 left Congo and he kind of went on that trial series against everyone. So it kind of seemed like they were trying to do something different with him. And obviously Kotoge is a 12-time GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Champion. So I guess they're the ones I would go for, because I think they feel the most different and the most interesting. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Amakusa Miyawaki thing's a red herring, and it's like Miyawaki pulls his finger out and stops being punished for misdemeanors overseas.
Yeah, we shall see. But okay, so let's get into the first night of the N1 Victory 2023 from on the 6th of August from the Yokohama Budokan in front of 804 fans. That number is bad, like really bad. This is less than what Noah drew there with 50% COVID capacity restrictions.
Yeah.
It's 500 people less than what they drew in March for Jake Lee versus Kaito Kiyomiya. Like, just an absolutely abysmal number.
Yeah, and so there have been 8 shows this year in the Yokohama Budokan, and this is 7th of 8 for attendance. And I think 8 out of 8 was like a random Stardom show, like night 6 of a tour. But it's over 1,000 less than Big Japan drew for the Yuya Aoki title win against Okabayashi, which admittedly is still my match of the year. But it's also Big Japan, who will put in 400 people in Korakuen. So this is a really, really bad number. And as you say, it's about 150 less than last year's opening night of the N1, when you had COVID restrictions, and it was Go Shiozaki against Kaz Fujita in the main event. And it's like, I struggle to believe that there was that much more quality in last year's field, with Masakatsu Funaki and Anthony Green, than there is in this year's. That, 150 less people are like, oh, I'm not really that interested in going. Yeah, it's a really, really bad number. And, I mean, Jake Lee's not a draw.
No.
There's no more evidence of that. We don't need any more evidence of that, should I say? But yeah, not a good number. And is it the nights 2, 3, and 4 that are in Korakuen? Which they sold out a few weeks ago for Nakajima Miyahara, but I suspect that they won't be doing that anytime soon.
Yeah, no, I also don't have a feeling that they're going to be able to repeat that. Yeah, so the next night, the next 2 nights are actually the next 3 nights are on Korakuen. So the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th. So they're doing a triple shot on Korakuen.
Yeah, and they're all slightly smaller nights, aren't they? Because you've got that tag tournament we just spoke about, because you've got the semi-night 1, semi-night 2, and then the final is on the 3rd night, which is the one with one of my penciled matches of the tournament, Shiozaki against El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. Yeah, so it's just dreadful. And the thing was, I was watching the show, and so I watched Nakajima Soya on my phone, on the Wrestle Universe app on my phone. So I didn't really pay that much attention to the crowd or whatever. But then I watched the rest of it, cast it to the TV. And my first observation was, it's really, really dark.
Yes.
And I was like, is this the Noah thing where it's really, really dark because there's no one there? And then there were a couple of matches where there was no crowd noise at all. They reacted to nothing. And then they did a wide shot on the entrances for one of the matches later on. And there was they kind of focused on 2 people in a row, and then there was just a sea of empty seats behind them. And I was like, oh, yeah, the lights are down because there's no one here. And then when I finished watching the show, I looked on Cage Match to see what the attendance was, and I was like, oh, that's not a good number at all. Yeah, bad. And the lack of crowd noise, I said this to you before we started recording, I think the lack of crowd noise kind of hurt this show for me, because a lot of the matches were introducing you to people, establishing moves or whatever, not necessarily going hammer and tongs to have great matches up and down the card, which is fine. In a tournament, you obviously have to tell kind of different stories and give everyone credibility, but it just meant that everything kind of felt like this one condensed mass of the same. It was very hard to distinguish between that was a 3-star match. That was a 3.25-star match. That was a 3-star. It made it very hard to really think, okay, that was... Nothing stood out. And I think part of that is because of that kind of lack of crowd reaction, lack of crowd noise, but also just the atmosphere, because it was so dark and all you could see was the ring. And then every match kind of had a very similar structure of initial exchange in the ring, go to the outside, someone gets hurled into the guardrail, outside exchanges, and then get back in the ring for kind of the middle portion and the closing stretch. It just sort of... It felt, I guess slog's a bit strong, but it all felt quite monotonous in many ways. Never peaked super high, but also never peaked really low either. But yeah, I mean, obviously story-wise, obviously everything's going to develop as the tournament goes on, but that lack of atmosphere is going to be a real passion killer, I think.
I mean, there was one match that had good crowd, and I think there might be a reason why you might have missed that, but let's just quickly go over the results. So, in the first match, Shuji Kondo, Seiki Yoshioka, and Stallion Rogers defeat Anthony Green, Yohei, and Tadasuke. After Kondo hit a King Kong Lariat on Tadasuke. Perfectly good opener. As you said, might have set up some stuff for the junior tag title tournament, but yeah, the one thing I was like thinking about while watching this was like, why isn't Anthony Green in the N1? Because he was in it last year. He's arguably more over now, and he's still booked for the tour, so you're still paying him. So you still flew him
Yeah.
in and all of that, but you're not having him in the tournament. It's just a weird decision.
Yeah, I don't know, because obviously last year he came in as the make good for Tim Thatcher, and obviously he did them a solid. So it's kind of that kind of Kip Sabian, AEW, Chase Owens, New Japan, where like you've got a job for life type thing because you did them a solid. So it does feel weird that he's got shafted, but I guess they wanted to try and bring in some different faces like an Adam Brooks or a Lance Anoa'i, and Green's just kind of a bottom of the card guy, because obviously in theory him and Jack Morris are the two secondary heavyweights in good looking guys, but obviously Morris is like, he's not far off that main event picture now.
Yes.
He feels like a real deal established guy, and I think maybe put him and Green in the tournament. I don't know, one drags down the other, I'm not sure, but I guess my only thought on this match was that they seemed to be teasing like a singles match for later in the tour between Green and Stallion Rogers, because like they stared each other down after the match for like an awkwardly long amount of time. So my guess is that that's probably going to get chucked in at some point where they're going to fight each other, which will be a fun little undercard thing. I think my main kind of thought about this was it was nice because I think the G1 shows, where it was literally just 8 singles matches, you kind of needed something to break them up.
Yeah.
So like out of the gate, having like a 6.5 minute quick 6-man tag was really fun. And then obviously we had another one later in the show, which was a little bit longer, and obviously it involved Kaz Fujita, so I wasn't a big fan. But it still broke everything up, because then by the time Daiki Inaba and El Hijo Dr. Wagner Jr. came out, I was like, okay, I'm ready now for another 4 singles matches. So that was a nice thing. And obviously with the tag tournament and stuff, they're going to continue having that variety as the tour goes on. So as a viewer, and I suppose as a critic, it made it easier from that perspective as a whole. But it's just, as I said, the action you did get kind of coalesced into one blob.
Yeah. Okay, so we're kicking off the tournament properly with the Block B, where Manabu Soya defeats Katsuhiko Nakajima in 40 minutes and 40 seconds with 40 seconds with a jumping DDT. So I went 4.25 stars on this match. I thought this was amazing. This was, I mean, easily the best match of the night. Just great action throughout. Just really like Soya was such a great underdog here. Just like, which really you wouldn't think when you look at the size of these two men. But like Nakajima is such a great bully, where like he just beat up Soya, and you just like Soya just had so much heart. He just like kept refusing to go down, and then eventually he actually overcomes Nakajima and gets his victory. And this actually here was, the crowd was really good in this match. Actually, the crowd was so hot for Manabu Soya. Like they were like just like he had them in the palm of his hand. Like he just really peaked the match at just the right moment, and that crowd just went absolutely ballistic when he got the victory. So I agree with you, Andrew, that like for the rest of the night the crowd was bad, but they were great here. Like they were really, really good here. So to me this was like a thing where like if you give them something, if you give the crowd something, they're going to react to it. And
Yeah.
like for me, just great match, and I thought we were in maybe for like a really, really good night, but unfortunately this was already like the peak. But let's see, like I think Soya, I've been talking about Keno being kind of underrated like this year a bit. I think Soya is even more underrated. Like I think this might be his best year. Like I'm trying to think like of previous years where he was really good, or if he had like a year in Wrestle 1 where he had like performances here and there like every year, like where he was really good. But I don't think I've ever seen him be consistently this good throughout the entire year.
No, I mean, I would go on record and actually put this in or a variation of this in the N1 previews that you and I split up for Voice of Wrestling, that I've never been a huge Manabu Soya guy, but this year he has been fantastic. He was really decent in the Champion Carnival, but the tag work with Keno was fantastic. And the way I saw it was, he was the one who was most upset by the end of, Congo. So I kind of saw this tournament as being very story driven for him. He obviously then won the weird Royal Rumble thing they did the night before, which kind of made me think, maybe I read it a little bit wrong and they're going to kind of push him in a different direction. But he was so good here. Both of them were. Like this match was brilliant. It starts with Sawyer basically trying to bull rush Nakajima out the gate, because he's mad that he left Congo and maybe he blames him for ending, and he tries to rush him out the gate, and basically Nakajima gets to the outside, moves out the way, and Sawyer impales himself on the guardrail. And from then on, Nakajima, it was like he was playing with his food. Like, he beat the stuffing out of him. He kicked, vicious kicks. Mm-hmm. But there was never any real urgency from Nakajima. It was like, well, he obviously offers me no threat, so I'm just going to enjoy beating him up. And he landed that really vicious, PK to the ribs on the ground. And Sawyer's rolling around in the crowd, as you say. They were good for this one, and they were really into Sawyer. And, yeah, he just pulls off this incredible, white meat babyface comeback. That fireman's carry into the knee lift that he did, which I thought Mark Pickering did a really great job on commentary, pointing out that that was a move he'd never hit before. And that kind of was his opening in the end to put Nakajima away with a huge lariat and then the DDT. But yeah, that match was rocking and rolling. It was fantastic. And Sawyer feels like a made guy now. Like, he feels he can go on to do something. I don't know what that is, but it's certainly the most interesting he's felt to me in Noah. Maybe he's winning the whole thing because his gear's the exact same colour scheme as all the N1 posters this year with the orange and the blue. So maybe Manabu had the memo ahead of everybody else.
I mean, maybe.
But yeah, this was great. I went 4 stars flat on this, but I just thought it was fantastic. And yeah, kind of subverted what I thought, because I thought Nakajima would kind of be the one who ran out to a really good start and then maybe got pulled back and then lost to Shiozaki on the last night, and Go would have a slow start. But we'll get into, they kind of went the other way with Nakajima being maybe too cocky and getting caught out by his cockiness against a plucky underdog, and Shiozaki actually been really cerebral and dominant in his first match. So maybe they're going to go a slightly different way with it. But yeah, this was a fantastic opener and maybe set the bar a little bit too high for the rest of the night, given the way that the rest of the matches were structured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we go to the next tournament match, which was in Block A. Jack Morris defeats Yoshiki Inamura in 30 minutes, 51 seconds with a ground crowbar twist. Yep. As you said, we kind of took a step back with the rest of the matches. I thought this was still really good, though. I think I would still put this in the upper half of the matches that we saw on this night. Again, I mean, these are two of the better workers as well, but it just really shows how different Jack Morris feels just after 1 year. Because when he had his match with Kaito last year, he was just obviously the underdog, right? He got the big upset win over Kaito Kiyomiya on the first night and everything. And here he just feels like a guy. He was in control. Inamura got his spots here and there, but I don't think it ever really felt never really felt in doubt that Morris was eventually just gonna come back and win the match. And yeah, he very much is a guy, I wrote that in the preview as well. To me in Block A, there's 3 people that have a chance of advancing out of the block. And that's Keno, obviously, Jake Lee, and Jack Morris. And yeah, I would not be surprised if he advances off the block, but even if he doesn't, he will be a guy that Noah will push. And they are definitely positioning him for something big down the line.
I I cannot stress enough how much I loved the finish to this match, because it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, that, you know, as an opening night, this was about familiarizing people with stories. It was about establishing people, and it was about establishing kind of moves and key themes. And the finish here established this Cobra twist for Jack Morris as like an instant kill submission, because he's trying to lock it in, and Inamura is fighting it like death. He's trying to block him, lock in the arms, like he's really, really struggling. And I thought the camera work was fantastic here, because the cameras basically, they used the one that was basically outside the ring and from the level of like the apron. So you're looking up at Inamura and Jack Morris. And Inamura's like fighting to stop him locking the arms. And then when he does lock the arms, he's fighting to get to the ropes to break the hold. He just about gets there. And then Morris snags him back into a pinfall attempt. Inamura kicks out, but in kicking out, he basically makes the Cobra twist tighter. So then he has to tap out. Just a phenomenal finish that established that Cobra twist as like, okay, this is a big deal. This is a submission to be avoided. This is a move to be avoided. And it kind of showed you that Morris is 2 steps ahead already. Do you know what I mean? Like, he knows that if someone tries to break it, he can take them back and trip them back for a pin and whatever. So I thought it was super cool. Established the move in a great way. Morris looked great. And yeah, as I say, I thought Inamura kind of got a chance to stretch his legs a little bit more, which was cool.
Yeah, and I really hope that, like, obviously, like, it's just the first night, and like, there's no shame in losing to Jack Morris, but like, I really hope that Inamura actually gets some wins in this tournament, because again, he has never pinned a non-young boy in Noah. So like, if he goes 0 points again, I think like it's over basically.
Yeah, he's got to beat someone.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Anyway, so on to the next one, Block B. Lance Anoa'i defeats Yuma Anzai in 8 minutes and 22 seconds with a Samoan splash. Yeah, this to me was like more when like things kind of like took a more notable downturn. Like I'm not a big fan of, like, I haven't really, like, what I've seen of Lance Anoa'i was just always like, I don't know, kind of okay. There was never really anything really led me to believe that he's like really great. Yuma Anzai, I mean, he is really good, but he's already putting a lot of stuff together, but he's also like, again, he's a rookie. He's literally still less than a year in. He's not someone that can make, like, create something very compelling with like a lesser opponent. And it wasn't a bad match, but it was also like mostly just kind of there and very forgettable.
Yeah, I have to say, you know, I very much enjoyed Lance Anoa'i's entrance music, because they kind of had some sort of weird like haka war dance thing going on at the start of the music, and then it kind of just evolved into like West Coast hip hop. But the start, I was like, this is cool. Like, he feels important. Do you know what I mean? So that was cool. I thought the match was fine. It kind of felt like a TV match, if that makes sense, where it was kind of stuff happened, but it wasn't really trying to do anything else. I guess my main thing was I thought Lance was going to stink, because, you know, I've seen a fair bit of his stuff, and it's all very much tag team matches, short tag team matches, doesn't work a lot of singles. And I was like, there is a chance he gets exposed in this tournament, because everyone in the ring or everyone in his block is a lot more experienced than he is, and certainly a lot more experienced in the style. So I thought he might get found out, but I thought he looked fine. I thought the match was fine. I really liked the finish as well, because Yuma Anzai went for a float over in the corner, and Anoa'i trapped him with like a savate kick, a super kick, and then Anzai just sort of crumpled on the floor, and then he pinned him, and then he hit the Samoan splash and pinned him, which I was like, that's quite a cool finish and a nice way of setting it up. So, 3 for 3 on cool finishes. But yeah, this match was fine. It was fine. Yeah, I think I went 2 3/4. It was fine.
Okay, and then in Block A, Yuki Yoshioka defeats Masaki Tamiya with the Inferno. I was disappointed with this match. This was actually one of the ones that I was looking forward to. I think Masaki Tamiya has been really good this year. And while I have my issues with Yuki Yoshioka, where I don't know, like when he was, as I wrote in the preview, when he was champion, I just fell out of Dragon Gate really hard because I just find him to be kind of bland. But he is he's a good in-ring worker, so I was actually really interested what these two could do, and there was really anything here. Like, yeah, as you said about the match before, it felt like a TV match. This also felt like a TV match where like they did stuff and probably also used it to like establish stuff a bit more for like the rest of the tournament. But yeah, I also really was just kind of sitting there and being like waiting for this to go to another gear, and it just never went to another gear.
Yeah, I think this was the one where I was like, is there anybody actually in the building? Because there was no noise for this at all. Yoshioka, I think, is a charisma vacuum. Again, I think I've written in my notes that this was like perfectly acceptable meat and potatoes wrestling, and I felt absolutely nothing. Like, it was fine, and I knew it was fine, and I was just like, I just don't care, if that makes sense. It kind of was just like, this exists. It's a 3.25 star match. Great. But it didn't make me super excited for the rest of Yoshioka's tournament. And, I mean, Kiyomiya is Kiyomiya. Like, you know what you're going to get with him. I quite enjoy him, but it was like, there was nothing here that made me think, oh, he's got something cool going on, or he feels interesting, or, you know. And again, with Yoshioka, I'm not a massive Dragon Gate guy, but I've never been overly impressed when I've seen him before. And there was nothing here that kind of changed that perception. And you would assume, as Dragon Gate are a responsible promotion, he's going to be positioned fairly well.
Yeah.
Even if he's not going to win. So, yeah, I don't know. I have very, very few thoughts on that one.
Fair enough. Okay, and then we break up tournament action with a 6-man tag match. Naomichi Marufuji, Atsushi Kotoge, and High 69 defeat Kazuyuki Fujita, Amaxa, and Junta Miyawaki in 12 minutes and 20 seconds when High 69 used a 69 bomb on Miyawaki. Good action to break up the tournament. I mean, as you mentioned before, like I think it really like helped the flow of the show to kind of take a break from the tournament matches and just have like a 6-man tag. And I think Noah, like that's just really something Noah is just really actually good at, is having good 6-man tag matches. I think for all of their faults, that's always something they've been doing consistently well, and I think this was another one that was just like a really well worked match.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was fine. It broke up the flow. It was a little bit longer than the one earlier on, and again, kind of served as a preview of the tag tournament with Kotoge and Hiroki on one side and Amakusa and Miyawaki on the other. But look, at least Kaz Fujita's not in the tournament. That's all I'm happy about. So
yeah, he's still serving people his energy drink from scratch.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't drink one of those, but you know.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so then we go back to tournament. Block B, El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. defeats Daiki Inaba with the Wagner driver. While I didn't think that this was like an amazing match, I think this picked up a bit from the previous matches. I think, yeah, Wagner has just been really great this year. And it showed here as well. Like, I think last year, like, his and one matches were mostly like pretty boring. And this one was a lot more exciting. Like, he also wore the white mask as well, which is like the traditional like Wagner family like mask, like in honor of the tournament and all of that. And I think that's really cool. So yeah, the thing though that hurt it for me was like it very much also felt like a very foregone conclusion who was going to win here. And I don't think Inaba ever really got like a good chance to win the match, but I think it was still good for what it was.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I really liked Daiki Inaba, so it was nice to see him kind of get a chance to do something actually fairly meaningful for a change. And yeah, I mean, I absolutely adore El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. Although I will say the mask he was wearing didn't look particularly well fitted because there were a few times when like particularly quick exchanges where like you could see him like clinging on for grim death or like having to readjust it afterwards, and it was like, maybe get one that does up next time, buddy, because that's gonna come off. And then obviously, because he's a luchador, he'd obviously get rolled up because he wouldn't want anybody to see his face. So can't be dropping points like that in a tournament, buddy.
Yeah.
But no, I thought this was fun. It kind of had similarities to Wagner's matches with Makassar recently, where it was almost like the only chance Inaba had of beating him was like snagging a roll up or snagging something really quick, because he was never going to beat him in a straight out, hitting a big lariat or whatever. That wasn't going to work. So it had to be with a roll up or a pinning combination or something. So from that point of view, it was fun and it had a lot of sort of energy to it. But yeah, this kind of felt one of the more obvious locks of the night that, the main man, Hiho, was going to take the win, and he has. And yeah, I put in the thing that I thought he was one of the 3 in B block that has a chance to win behind the 2 Axis guys. So he's obviously off to a good start.
I agree. And then we go back to A block, where, and this was a bit more of a surprising result, Adam Brooks defeats Keno with the Aussie Buster. Yeah, I mean, as I wrote in the preview, like, Adam Brooks has always been like kind of a guy where I'm like, he's an okay in-ring guy. He's never been like a guy that blew me away. And yeah, I think he did well. He was in there with a guy that is one of the best wrestlers in the world. So I think he looked a little bit unsure of himself at points. But obviously, like, I at least have a feeling maybe that Noah sees something here, because they gave him the upset win over Keno, which is big because Keno's obviously one of the favorites. But I don't know if this was really like his best showing to start off, to be honest. But yeah, we shall see. But I think Keno was good. Like, I think Keno like held up his end of the bargain, and it again wasn't a bad match. Like, I don't think any of the tournament matches were bad, but also one I don't think that was like one of the better ones either.
Yeah, I thought this was fine. It sort of existed. I was surprised at the result, but yeah, Brooks just kind of looked a bit clumsy and a bit ungainly at various points. But again, it kind of felt like just establishing him, a kind of who he is, what he is, kind of what he brings to the table. And I don't know, he was doing a lot of talking. I guess because he kind of was cognizant that there was absolutely nothing from the crowd. So he was doing a lot of, this is your guy. He sucks. And then there was nothing. He didn't even get booed. And I was like, oh, bet you wish you'd stayed in Sydney now. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. And I enjoyed Keno at the end, like, throwing a hissy fit that he'd lost. So he was, like, banging his hands on the mat in the corner and then, like, going up to the referee and being like, are you sure that was 3?
Yeah.
So I guess that obviously sows some seeds for later in the tournament, especially if, he's to lose on night 2 or something. Because he's got Inamura on night 2. So, I mean, if he lost that... no, sorry, that's night 3. Night 2... Oh, he's not working on night 2. So, yeah, his second match is against Inamura. So, if he lost that, I think he'd have every right to be like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. But, yeah, it was fine. It was fine. 3 stars, fine. But nothing special, really. But, I think both guys will have better matches. And I think now Brooks has had his first tournament match, I think he'll kind of get into the saddle of things. And I guess there's pressure being in there with Keno because of the year that he's had and because of who he is. There's a lot more pressure, whereas, his next his next matches is against Kiyomiya, where I feel like there's less pressure because, you're not in there with one of the favourites, one of the top guys, a massive charisma guy. So I think he'll probably find his footing a bit more comfortably. But look, off to a winning start, I guess bodes well for him to have a decent tournament.
Mm-hmm. And just for quick, did you see Keno's comments about Kaito being eliminated from the G1?
I did. I was like, good for you. Go after him and call him a punk.
Yeah, so basically, for those that haven't seen it, Keno essentially said that he wants to win the N1 because the N1 final is in the building that Kaito got eliminated from the G1, and then he's basically going to shit talk him constantly about it if he manages to do that. Which that's the reason why Keno is Keno and why Kaito Kiyomiya is Kaito Kiyomiya.
Exactly.
Okay, and then we go to the next match. Block B. Go Shiozaki defeats Saxon Huxley in 9 minutes 54 with the Gohan Lariat. Yeah, I thought this was surprisingly good. Again, nothing to really like put on like your match of the year list or anything like that. But I thought Huxley actually looked solid here. I think Go also kind of sold his ass off as well, and I think it helped that they kept the match short. They kept it to just under 10 minutes. So I think that really helped helped Huxley not get exposed. And yeah, no, I definitely better than expected, I want to say. And it's probably the best Huxley has looked in Noah so far.
Okay, so we're going to differ.
Oh, okay.
Differ massively here because I thought this sucked. So I felt like Huxley's kind of wild man thing, which I've kind of enjoyed for the most part, he felt quite tame here. And, you know, Go was doing the thing early on where he was landing the chops to the leg and the knee, which obviously was quite cool and quite different. You don't see that very often. But then, like, there was no difference in Huxley. You know, there was no, like, selling or anything like that. And then, yeah, there was just a few lariats at the end and that was game over. And it felt short, which obviously it was a fair bit shorter than some of the other stuff. But, yeah, this just felt kind of lifeless and, I don't know, boring, I guess. Not like bad, but just boring. So I went 2 stars on this. I just thought it was
okay,
fine, but definitely the weakest match on the show for me. So obviously I enjoyed the Huxley man, the Pride of Hartlepool, a bit less than you.
fair enough.
But I don't know whether that's just because I assumed he was going to win.
Oh, okay.
Because I put in my preview that I thought he was going to win because obviously the thing with Go was that he's like kind of not been ready. So I thought it was going to be maybe lose the first match or the first couple of matches. And then, because he's got Anzai on night 2. So I wondered if he was going to maybe lose twice and then obviously go on strong. Because obviously I think he's going to win the whole thing. I think that's the right outcome. I think that's the most sensible outcome. But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't think he was going to win. So that threw me for a spin. But I also just didn't think the match was anything to write home about. But it wasn't bad. It just wasn't. Well, I started by saying it sucked, so I guess I did think it was bad.
Yes.
But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'll stop talking.
No, don't worry. And I would also go back and argue it a bit more, but like it's Saxon Huxley, so that's not a hill I'm like dying on. So we go to the next match, which is Block A, or rather the main event of the night, which is Jake Lee defeats Timothy Thatcher in 20 minutes and 4 seconds with the FBS, which is his like front kick thingy. So I thought this was pretty good. I don't think this was nearly as good as Soya versus Nakajima. I saw some people go 4 stars on this match. I don't think it was that good. But yeah, I think this definitely was hurt by kind of the crowd being really bad. And if you just have a 20-minute main event and the crowd is quiet, that really doesn't help it. Like, I'm someone that enjoys Thatcher's work, but yeah, I mean, and it sounded probably more negative than it actually was. Like, I thought this was still a good match. But I think it definitely is like the match that was hurt the most by the crowd just being terrible outside of Soya versus Nakajima.
Yeah. There was a lot of grappling, which if you've not been a very noisy crowd all night, these two kind of trading holds and, you know, grappling a lot isn't going to get you going.
No. Unless you're a hard-hit crowd in Shinkiba. But obviously,
yes.
very different
Yes.
field there, or crowd size as well. Well,
Yeah.
actually not really. Like, it's really only off by like a couple of few hundred people.
Yeah, I thought this was fine. You know, I think I went 3 stars. It felt very long. I think that was my point. I think I enjoyed what I saw. I quite enjoyed Thatcher as well, and I thought it was a very different match from Jake Lee here, because it's often felt in his title matches that he's been the underdog in many ways, and he's basically been beaten up for a lot of the time before kind of coming back into it, which always jars given how tall he is. But here it was a lot more just kind of grappling, and then eventually built to kind of the finishing sequence, and then the big boot in the corner. I thought it was fine. I've seen a real wild variance in this one, because like you say, I've seen people go 4 stars, but I've also seen, I think I saw the first couple of ratings on Cage Match were 4 out of 10, which seemed kind of harsh. So I guess I'm sort of somewhere in the middle, where I thought it was fine, but it didn't, enthrall me in the way that, I know you enjoyed it, and I know Strigger, I saw he tweeted as well that he'd really enjoyed it. So, it was fine. It was fine, but I guess just the lack of noise just meant it was like, oh, the show's over. It was also just like, the show's over, and it sort of, I felt bad for them because it felt like a bit of a wet fart to end on, but it was fine. But I mean, yeah, I guess looking ahead to the rest of the tournament, there was nothing on night 1 made me change my perspective on the tournament. I still think realistically it's between Shiozaki, Dr. Wagner Jr. and Nakajima in Block B, and then Keno and Jake Lee in Block A. Like, I didn't see anything on night 1 that made me change that view, even though I know Nakajima and Keno both lost. They all still just feel like the most compelling people and the most interesting people. And I guess that will play out. But yeah, I don't know. Tournament structured really weirdly, because you've got like these nights with 7 matches, and then there's 3 nights with 6 matches. So there's like 4 people getting a night off. And I'm like, I don't know.
It actually
strange,
really
but I
fucked
guess...
me up when I was writing up the structure for the preview with the schedule, because basically I was like, wait a minute, no, but like, that's this guy's third opponent as well. Did I screw up here somewhere? And I went back and I was like, no, wait, because he has that night off. Oh, okay. And I was like, oh, okay, this was
there's
very
only
confusing.
3.
Yeah,
there's only 3 3 nights with 8 singles matches. So yeah, that's a bit of a wild one, but yeah, I mean, it certainly feels like it's pointing in that direction, because the last night you've got Shiozaki Nakajima, Hiho Del Dr. Wagner Jr. against Manabu Soya, and then in Block A you've got Jake Lee, Keno, and Jack Morris, Adam Brooks. So they kind of feel like they're the 4 matches that are going to be the most significant. So I don't know. My feeling is very much that Shiozaki Nakajima decides Block B, where it's like, Hiho Del Dr. Wagner Jr. needs one of them to lose, and then Go wins or whatever. But yeah, a Go Keno final is still what I'm going for. I haven't changed my mind at all in the last few days or after this first night, but I don't know if you have any other kind of big picture stuff for the rest of the tournament.
No, I like the only thing that I kind of like I said, the only additional thing that I kind of came up with in my head is basically caused by Kaito getting eliminated from the G1, and it's the one I already talked about, the horror scenario. Jake wins the tournament, he has defeated everyone, because he deliberately said, right, like before the tournament, that like there's no one that is even like worth challenging him, so now he's gonna go into the N1 as champion. And then if he like wins that one as well, and then Kaito comes back and wins the title, and yeah. That's the only like kind of like horror scenario I have in my head right now, and I really hope they don't do that. Like, I think it just makes the most sense to like go with Go Shiozaki because he's never won it, or to go with Keno because he has like a believable like long-term like kind of top guy now that he's, because again, like while he was in Congo you couldn't do that because he was like this anti-authority guy. Well, he's still kind of a prick. Like, he's not like that like I'm fighting against Noah guy. He's more like a Noah guy now. So you could actually like put him on top more long term. So yeah, maybe that's the only thing where like I shifted a bit more towards thinking Keno is going to win rather than Go is going to win, but I'm probably still more like 55% Go and 45% Keno at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I actually just real quick before we move on to the next thing. When I sent over the previews to Rich to publish them, you know how I included like the singles tournament history of every participant,
Yeah.
and I mean every singles tournament. Rich actually thought I had made up the Battle of West Lothian.
No, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
An important accolade in a man's life is to win the Battle of West Lothian.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is
I
Jack
just
Morris,
responded to
really.
him that it's just as prestigious as the Battle of Los Angeles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To the, for the people of Central Scotland, it's just as important. He also competed in the Lionheart League as well, which I did enjoy.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't think I've ever seen anything more depressing than empty arena behind closed doors ICW.
God.
Don't know.
I don't know why you put yourself through that.
Look, COVID was a hard time for everybody.
Yeah. That's bad. Yeah, that was.
I mean, he
really
lost to a guy called Luca De Pazzi, who I genuinely don't think is a real person. But yeah, I just look, it is what it is. This man's a former ICW tag team champion, and he deserves respect.
Yes, he does. And the other thing as well, talking about our great previews as well. Boy, Stu Fulton sure seemed to know a lot about everyone's singles tournament history on that show.
Well, see, I must have missed that. Well, not must have missed that. I did miss that because I watched the vast majority of the show with Japanese commentary because I heard 2 matches of G-Man and I was like, I can't do this to myself. I genuinely can't cope with him not really knowing what's going on. I'm like, Mother of God! It's like, no, I can't do it. Like, I was like, I'm just going to get mad. So I was like, if I watch the Japanese, I survive with All Japan and Big Japan, watching it with Japanese commentary, I'll survive this show as well.
Yeah, I can see. Like, he's a good ring announcer, but like, I don't know why they insist on just putting him on commentary.
No, like Pickering has his faults, but I think he's a good commentator.
Yeah.
And Stu Fulton's brilliant. Like, he's a pro. He knows what he's doing. And those two are fine. And the matches where it's just those two are fine. But then it's like, oh, Stu Fulton's not doing this match. Here's G-Man.
Yeah, it's just he took over both color and play-by-play. Like, it was like,
It's
what is
just
he
like,
doing
just
here?
stop talking.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's just, yeah. So, yeah, I must have missed Stu Fulton doing his own research at voicesofwrestling.com. But good for him and good for us.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, so now we get now we're done with Noah. We're not going to All Japan right away because we're taking a quick detour to the great world of GLEAT, whatever the fuck you want to call it. You know what? They did a shit show, so I'm gonna call it GLEAT. Because that's GLEAT is definitely not the thing that they were on that show, so they need to earn that moniker back. So now they GLEAT. So GLEAT version Mega happening on the 4th of August, live on YouTube, which I think they actually do a halfway decent number, like more than they normally did. I think they had like 10K people or something watching that. So live from Sumo Hall in Tokyo, in front of 2,215 fans, which is bad. Another bad number, like just big oof.
I hope whatever they paid Kota Ibushi was worth it. So,
like, and that's the other thing, right? You get the first match of Kota Ibushi in Japan since the G1 final where he got injured against Okada, and then everything happened. So there's obviously like a lot of like intrigue around it, right? And you draw less than, like, we just talked about Noah's struggles to draw, right? And you draw like 500 people less than Noah did for Majestic.
Yep.
Like, that's really bad, especially because DDT, another promotion that has been struggling to draw, like they just like annihilated your number there, like just a few days
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they drew
Although,
like
to
a
be
thousand
fair,
people more.
To be fair, Peter Pan did have Matt Cardona on it, so obviously
True.
all the
I
people
hadn't
wanted to
considered
see
that.
him and Andre's a giant panda. But yeah, exactly. And I mean, that 2,200 number is 4,000 less than Altogether Again at the start of June, and 4,500 less than Sakura Genesis.
Yeah.
Which obviously was headlined by Okada against Sanada.
Yeah.
And obviously had Mercedes Monet as well. But it's like, that's a horrendous number.
Yeah.
You've obviously had to pay a fortune to rent the building. You've booked a 58 match card, flown in a bunch of weird people.
And I mean, you put some
And
like
then-
known draws on this as well, right? You put like
Yeah.
Kota Ibushi on there, obviously. You put Kento was on the show. Like you also had Hiromu on the show as well, right?
Yeah.
So and you drew
Yeah.
less like than Noah,
Mhm.
right? Like it's just not an acceptable number. Like
No.
they should have just not like they should have like if you want to go for a bigger show, like maybe don't go straight to like Sumo Hall unless they got like a really good rate on it, right? Like because
Yeah.
obviously like it's yeah. Because again, like because the other thing that I would have compared this to, like this drew less than the Champion Carnival final in Ota Ward,
Yep.
which also had had T-Hawk in the main event.
Yep. And he's co-main eventing here against
Yeah,
Hayato Tamura.
he's a better draw in All Japan than he is in Elite. Which that's actually
Well, it
something
actually
yeah.
proves that Shitaro Ashino is a bigger draw.
That
than
too.
Kota Ibushi.
That too.
Confirmed.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's actually I had a brief conversation with Mike Spears after the show was over, and like the thing I brought up there is like I think T-Hawk should jump to All Japan. Like I think they book
Probably.
him better. He's a better draw there. Like I think he fits better with the style of the promotion. So yeah. Who knows? But yeah, so you haven't seen the show, unfortunately. But so I'm gonna kind of quickly go through the matches and give my thoughts. But you just kind of intersect basically if you want to like touch on anything that was happening or if there's anything you want to know more about. Okay, so in the opener or the dark match, I'm actually not sure because I didn't see this match and I didn't really look like it was anything worth going back for. Yuya Susumu and JD Lee defeat Yusuke Kodama and Masato Kamino in 6 minutes and 30 seconds after Lee pinned Kamino after a shooting star press. Didn't see it, neither did Andrew, so let's move on. So I'm going to talk about both of the next matches kind of together. So I'm going to talk about just quickly mention results for both of them. So kickboxing rules. Now defeats Maya Fukuda in round 2 after a TKO. And then GLEAT MMA rules. Akihiro Gono defeats Tetsuya Izuchi by decision after 3 rounds. Why? What are we doing here? What is this? What's the point of this? Why do you think this is a good idea? Just do you actually think this is helping your guys? Because it's not. Because it makes them look awful. Like we touched on this already during the awards show when we talked about the Soma Watanabe match at the first GLEAT MMA show, where both me and Kelly Harris voted that match were like the worst match because it just did damage to Watanabe and like Watanabe just looked horrendous, just this like washed up like MMA guy, just beat the shit out of him, and then Watanabe threw up after the match. Like that didn't happen here, but like Maya Fukuda didn't look that much better. Like it was actually like kind of felt like she was put out of her mercy when she lost by TKO. Like, and she's like again like one of your young stars. Like, why are you doing this to her? Like this didn't help at all. If anything, like it hurt her like aura really. And then
Yeah.
same for Izuchi. Like Izuchi is another, like, I think he has a ton of potential. I think he's a guy that like GLEAT really should be building up now. But they're not. Instead of putting him in this kind of stuff where like he basically it felt like Gono was told that he can't finish Izuchi. So he actually spent a good chunk of the match just kind of standing in the corner, adjusting his pants, and he still won by decision. Like, I just don't get what we're doing here. Like, it just,
No.
it feels like such a waste, right? Like, why?
I think the last time I saw Akihiro Gono was him losing a split decision to Dan Hardy in the UFC about 15 years ago.
Oh, God. Yeah, exactly. Like,
And then it's like,
what?
I saw the results and I was like, sorry, why is there a 50-year-old bloke like in your second match of the show?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, I'm not a huge GLEAT guy, but I genuinely don't understand the mindset of who this is for. Where it's like, you have, on this show, 2 kind of kickboxing MMA fights, 3 wrestling matches, and then you get the UWF stuff. And it's like, who is this for? Generally, people want one or the other. They
Yeah.
don't want both. So why are you trying to horseshoe them in together?
Or if you're doing it, like, for example, like I brought it up earlier, like, because Hard Hit is doing, like, all that kinds of stuff as well, where they, like, mix in, for example, like, exhibition grappling matches and all that kind of stuff. But again, that's for a very niche crowd in Shinkiba. That's not something you put in Sumo Hall. There's a reason Hard Hit doesn't run Sumo Hall. I love Hard Hit. But, yeah, like, it's just, and again, it's also, like Gono dominated Izuchi really badly. That's what I mean, like where it felt like he was told that he can't finish him. But it just made Izuchi look like such a bitch that just this 50-year-old guy is just here and he's just beating the shit out of him. And he had no chance at all. Like, it's just awful. Awful, awful, awful. Okay, move on from that because I hated every single. I hated this so much. Okay, so Quiet Storm's 25th anniversary special match. Masakatsu Funaki, Quiet Storm, and Kazuma Sakamoto defeat Taka Michinoku, Yuji Hino, and Issei Onitsuka in 8 minutes and 32 seconds when Quiet Storm hit the 53 centimeter arm lariat on Onitsuka. I mean, this was fine. I mean, it was 8 minutes and 32 seconds. It was perfectly acceptable wrestling. I enjoyed like Quiet Storm and Yuji Hino just kind of running into each other. That was really fun. I mean, that shouldn't really be surprising. Just 2 big dudes just slapping into each other. That's always great. That's just the best thing in wrestling. And everyone else here, like, I mean, Funaki, I honestly can't really remember anything Funaki did. Not even sure if he tagged in. Probably did. Not for long, most likely. Perfectly acceptable match.
I did enjoy, nothing to do with GLEAT, I did enjoy the Peter Pan main event between Yuji Hino and Chris Brooks. I think the highlight was when Hino took his shirt off so Brooks could chop him and then was like, no, you don't chop hard enough, and then put his t-shirt back on. And I was like, that's the sort of alpha male move that we need more of.
Yes. No, Hino
Where you're
rules.
like, no, you're a chump, I'm putting this back on. So, yeah, no thoughts on this, but yeah, Yuji Hino's fun.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, the image of him and Taka on the same team is quite funny as well.
Okay, so then in the next match, Kyoko Inoue, Dash Sasako, and Sayaka Unagi and Yukari Hosokawa defeat Risa Sera, Michiko, Aoi, and Janaikai in 6 minutes and 35 seconds when Unagi hit a sliding Tanaka on Aoi. And this was fine, but this was just, again, baffling booking on the part of GLEAT. So, Michiko recently turned heel, right? Like, after she did the whole thing, like, oh, I'm gonna leave GLEAT, and then she didn't, and she comes back and she turns heel. And she kind of formed, like, basically here on the show, they kind of debut a, like, heel faction built around her in Demon Egoist, which, amazing name for a faction, I need to say. But then they just lose in 6 minutes and 35 seconds. Just like why are you debuting a new heel faction and then immediately have them win just in 6 minutes? Like, what is this booking? Like you just immediately just completely cut like whatever chance there was for like this heel stable, because now they're chumps because they lost their first match just instantly. And yeah, I don't know. I just completely didn't get this. The match was fine, but the booking was just, again, really weird.
So is Janai Kai going to be a regular for them then, or do they literally fly her up for just that show? Because if
No,
they did,
she has worked late before. I think she's actually over in Japan right now for a tour.
oh, okay. Because I know I looked at her cage match earlier, and I know she's not actually. That's the only match she's wrestled in Japan so far. So I was like, that's a very strange use of your money. But there again, so's running this building when you can put no one in it. So
Yeah. No, she was actually on the second anniversary show, yeah.
okay.
And she was
Yeah,
teaming with.
I also think she
they
stinks.
they kind of had that team basically go there as well. Like they basically had that same team on that show, but they weren't like basically not like like a stable yet. Like they were just kind of teaming
Yeah.
together, and then they bring them out in this show as a stable with a name and everything, and they just lose.
Yeah, I also think she kind of stinks as well. So
Yeah. No, she very much like amongst her stable mates. I mean, maybe look. I mean, she wouldn't be the first person to like become better wrestling in Japan, right?
you would hope so.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, she definitely can't get better if she's just in like 6-minute matches. But yeah, we'll see.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so then the next match, where we had the Black Generation International team of Kotaro Suzuki, Hartley Jackson, Keiichi Sato, and Yutani defeat Kento Miyahara, Shigehiro Irie, Junji, and Jack Cartwheel in 7 minutes and 12 seconds. When Jackson pinned Junji after a Falcon Arrow. Again, another perfectly acceptable match. It's weird that you put Kento on the show and then have him lose in 7 minutes. Yeah, I don't know about that, but sure. I don't think it hurts Kento because he's Kento Miyahara and he's kind of Teflon at this point. But it also, like, it's weird that, like, you put him on the show and you just literally put him in the exact middle of the card in 7 minutes, and that's really all he does here. Just, yeah, I don't know. Again, more weird booking from GLEAT. And at the very least, it made more sense that Jackson won here because of what they were, like, gonna do later. But, yeah. Okay, and then we move over to the Elite UWF part of the show, where on the Elite UWF rules, Minoru Suzuki and Shinya Aoki defeat Fujita, Junior Hayato, and Yu Izuka in 8 minutes and 23 seconds when Suzuki choked out Izuka with a sleeper hold. Yeah, I mean, it's another Elite UWF rules match. I mean, your mileage varies on these. I think these can be really good. I think Suzuki's really good at it. I think Fujita like is really good at it as well. Yu is okay at it. I honestly have no time for Shinya Aoki because I also have suspected he's the guy between all the GLEAT MMA nonsense because he's the one that keeps tweeting out those matches. Yeah, I mean, it was fine. It's really all I can say about it. But it is definitely weird that like you had this whole tournament, crown Takanori Ito as your first GLEAT UWF champion, and then you immediately have him drop it to Fujita, and then Fujita loses on the next show. I mean, at the very least, it seems like they might go for a Suzuki versus Fujita title match. So I am looking forward to that. But still, again, bit of a weird booking. And again, also very short, which I think is a thing you can say about a lot of the matches on the show. Yeah. So then for the G Infinity title, the Saito brothers, Jun Saito, Rei Saito, defeat the Bulk Orchestra team of Ryuichi Kawakami and Galeno Del Mal in 14 minutes and 55 seconds when Rei hit a diving body press on Kawakami. Again, baffling booking. Like I was like, okay, like it makes sense. Like if you have the Saitos here and they like tossed around, Tanaka and Kasayashi earlier. In one of the title defenses. So that made a ton of sense. And like then you have like the Bulk Orchestra team come in after they turned face, and you have them defeat the Saitos and take the belts, but no, the Saitos keep the title, and I'm really not sure what the point is of the Saitos keeping these titles longer. Like, I felt like the title reign was perfectly acceptable for what it was. So now I'm just really confused what like the plan is. Like,
Well, so I did have a pondering on this.
Mhm.
Hayato Tamura is facing Jun Saito in the first round of the
Yes.
Royal Road.
I saw that.
So I wonder if they're going to go back to the Saitos against Tamura and Kamatani.
So we're just
Check Kamatani.
so we're just basically just go full circle.
Yeah, time is a flat circle. Absolutely.
Fair enough.
I don't know, but I'm assuming that's why he's in the tournament. But yeah, my only other thought here, obviously I've not seen it, but Galeno Del Mal is incredible.
Yeah.
He's like a fridge freezer with legs. But I really wish Noah would steal him.
Yes.
And, well, if they had a tag tournament, I hope they steal him and then him and his brother team together.
Yes.
Because there's no way those two should ever lose.
Yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. Like, I mean, I've been saying that since he popped up. Where it's like, no, absolutely needs to steal. Like, how did this? Like, I think that's literally what I said when he popped up in GLEAT. Where I was like, how did Noah let this happen? Like,
Yeah.
it's not even that you can say that they don't have good connections in Mexico. They obviously do, and also it's literally the brother. Like, obviously you should be
exactly.
like, he should come to you and be like, hey, do you want to book my brother? And then you just need to look at a photo of him, and you're like, yes, we want to book your brother. Obviously we do.
Yeah, and then they can have an undercard trios match, and it's those two and Dave the Clown.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe that's why they didn't belt him up here. Otherwise, it's just a baffling decision that like GLEAT didn't belt him up here. Like, just out of all of the booking decisions, this might be one of the worst ones. But yeah, just really weird stuff. Okay, then the next match, the Ultra Junior One Night Dream. Kei Sayashi, Minoru Tanaka, and Shima defeat Hiromu Takahashi, Atsuki Aoyagi, and Jun Toncho in 10 minutes and 20 seconds when Shima pinned Toncho after a Meteora. Talking about baffling booking, this was yet another one where just the three old guys defeat the three young guys, and I'm kind of dreading, because I have a feeling that I know what this is leading to. Oh yeah, just for quick. Oh, because I forgot to mention it. Actually, because it has said like they're gonna go back to Tamura, but first, it's actually Hartley Jackson and Kotaro Suzuki challenge the Saitos. But yeah, if they can get past those, then I feel like Tamura beating, winning in the Royal Road and then challenging for the Infinite titles probably would make a ton of sense. But yeah, coming back to this one, Shima getting the win here, and then T-Hawk, spoilers, defending his title afterwards. Kind of leads me to believe that, like, I think Shima might be beating T-Hawk for the title, which that's kind of like, that's really bad. Like, that's just baffling. Because why else would he be winning here, right? Like, why is he getting like this win on the big show? Like, Kasayashi can easily take the fall, right? And I mean, you don't like, okay, maybe you don't want to have Jun Toncho win, but like, I mean, you have your Roma right there, you have Atsuki right there, like, they can take a win. And it's also really interesting that like New Japan just allowed this to happen as well.
Yeah. Well, look, you've got to put yourself over, haven't you?
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to do it. So
Yeah. I mean, he's
also
one of
'cause
the few.
Shima
He's one of the few
No.
GLEAT guys on the show that like faced off with an outsider and won.
Yeah, because Shima had that New Japan Cup run, didn't he? Last year when he got to the quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm.
So, God knows.
I mean, there certainly wasn't
Baffled.
anyone like built up in the main event to like challenge T-Hawk next. So Shima kind of is the only guy now.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the main event because I've heard good things about it. So, would you recommend that I watch T-Hawk and Mr. Tamura?
Oh, that one,
or
yes.
not?
No, I would definitely recommend watch that one. That one is really good. That one is easily by far and away the best match on the show. It's not even close.
Perfect.
So just very quick for the result as well. So for the G-Rex title, T-Hawk defeats Hayato Tamura in 25 minutes 52 seconds with the Night Ride for his third defense. Yeah, no, this one was really good. I flirted with 4 stars. I think I might need to rewatch it. I think because I was already kind of grumpy with everything that had been going on the show, so I didn't go for in the moment. I think if I rewatch it, I probably will, because it was that good. It was just, yeah. I mean, Hayate Tamura is great. T-Hawk is great as well. So it was exactly what you expected the match between them to be. Kind of baffled by the result because I also expected Hayate Tamura to win here and take the title off of T-Hawk, who's had a solid reign, but I feel like Tamura is like should be like the guy that you're building up. Like he should be the guy that you're like trying to like make your actual ace, because that is something that like GLEAT is still missing. Is like an ace. Like they tried kind of a little bit with Lindemann, but I don't think like I love Lindemann, but that's not really the kind of guy that he is. And I feel like Hayate Tamura can be that guy, but obviously feels like they don't think he's ready yet. So T-Hawk beats him here in a really, really good match though. So yeah. And I would definitely recommend if there's anything from the show that you go and watch, it's this match. And I mean it is on YouTube, so you can like go and watch it very easily. You just have to scroll through a bunch of nonsense to get there. But hey, I mean YouTube significantly improved the scrolling function recently, so you can actually like very easily find the beginning of the match.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and then
Perfect.
in the main event, in a 5-on-5 super premium elimination match, Kota Ibushi, Shuji Ishikawa, Daisuke Sekimoto, Hagane Shino, Yumehito Imanari defeat Takanori Ito, Soma Watanabe, El Lindemann, Jack Shimatani, and Kaito Ishida in 35 minutes and 54 seconds, where it came down to Ibushi and Kaito Ishida, and Ibushi pinned Ishida after Kamigoye. So, as I said, this was Kota Ibushi's big return to Japan. He gets injured in the G1 final. And he's injured for a really, really long time. And then weird things start like floating around about him. He gets announced for the New Japan Cup, and then he gets pulled. And he says he wasn't ready yet and everything. And then he starts posting on social media, but basically accusing kind of New Japan of being bad at booking and just like not treating him right, and even going so far as like dropping like allegations of like New Japan having like shady contacts and everything, which is a big, big no-no in Japan. And basically, they work out an agreement, right, where he gets let go, like his contract just like runs out quietly in exchange for him just shutting the fuck up, basically. And then he pops up in AEW. He has the like blood and guts match, doesn't really look great, and now he makes his big return to Japan here. I think he still looked bad. Like, because like in like the blood and guts match, like you've seen that one, right? He just didn't look good at all.
No. He looked pudgy for a start, which to be fair, I'm built like the Michelin Man, so I can't really comment. But he looked pudgy, and just kind of looked quite slow and cumbersome, and almost like he didn't really know what he was doing. Well, not didn't really know what he was doing. I suppose that's not really an accurate representation, but he just sort of looked very out of place, and like definitely not up with the pace of the match and the intensity of that match. You know, you got John Moxley diving on a bed of nails, and Ibushi's there throwing like really awkward looking forearms, and it's like, not great. And yeah, obviously I've not seen this match, but most of what I heard was he didn't look good again, and you've kind of said similar, which doesn't sound super encouraging.
No, he did get a bit better in like the closing stretch with Ishida. Like I think he like did a bit better there, but like he didn't look physically well. Like which apparently also wasn't, because I think he posted some tweets like the night before that he had like a fever and everything. So maybe that affected him in this match still. I mean, most likely. But yeah, he just looked physically unwell. Like he always is kind of like, like a kind of pale guy, but he looked even paler here. And yeah, he just always seemed like a step too slow. Like I said, he got better as the match went on, but it still felt like a long way away from like prime Ibushi. Yeah, and obviously like expected him to win this match, but still, as I said, like it just the entire thing on the show was just GLEAT coming up short constantly against outsiders, and this just continued here, and I just don't think it's a good way to present yourself because it's just such a continuous issue in GLEAT, right? That they just always get the short end of the stick when they face off with outsiders and everything. And this was really just that dialed up to like a massive degree. I also don't think that like Kota Ibushi's like team is like really all that exciting as well. Like it was just kind of a random collection of like guys that he's friends with. Like this just felt like Onita showing up on a CZW show with his buddies and just demanding that a singles match gets turned into a 6-man tag match. So
or the old Ultimo Dragon routine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you have the singles match, the heels run in, and then it turns into a tag match.
Oh no! What a tragedy! Who could ever have predicted?
Yeah, exactly. Except like the 50 times this happened before.
Yeah, I remember Larry Sonka used to write on 4-on-1. Obviously, he passed away. I remember, the height of Suzuki-gun. Every match review started with, in a complete shock to no one, Suzuki-gun jumped their opponents before the bell. And like it used to pop me every time because it was like, yep. There's Suzuki and there's Izuka with the giant fingers and yeah.
Yep. Somehow they're never prepared.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, maybe Yota Tsuji learnt the lessons because bringing out an identical twin to haha. Yeah. But yeah, a 5-on-5 elimination match. I guess they probably couldn't have got Ibushi to work as singles, or who would you have put him in there with? But yeah, it didn't look super exciting on paper, and
it hurt the card as well because you basically like you had to use up like 5 of your like young top talent here that you could have put in like other stuff on the card. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not good.
No, and then afterwards, basically Ibushi is like, I don't know. I think maybe he felt he was like putting them over, but it felt really patronizing. Where he was like, "Oh yeah, hey, I won, da 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 da, yeah, but congratulate yourselves, you did a really nice job." And then just gave a Lindemann the match to like cut a promo, and then all the guys that lost early in the night came out, like Hayato Tamura and like Kawakami and like the women and like Maya Fukuda and like I don't know. Like again, it just like you just when you just saw them all assembled, like literally the first thing I thought is like all of these guys lost, all of them. Like, what the fuck? Like, why are you booking it this way? Like, and didn't you wonder why you draw 2,000 fans in Sumo Hall?
Yeah,
that's the reason.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to ask where the money's coming from, but like, they have got to have made an enormous loss on that show, given how much they must have paid Ibushi to do it.
Yes.
And it's like, was it worth it? Definitely not.
Kento probably doesn't come cheap for like outside bookings as well, given how rarely he does them.
Hiromu, well,
yeah.
Like,
Taka.
These fellas aren't coming in for free, and you're flying in, Jack Cartwheel and like bizarre, very bizarre, and I don't know.
I mean, this was just a
how
massive
GLEAT functions, but yeah.
Like, this was GLEAT's chance, right? This was their chance to show that they aren't just, like,
Yeah, they're like an alternative. They're a viable alternative. Like, I feel like they've ballsed it up.
Yeah, so. that they're on, like, the level of, like, at least, like, in All Japan, basically, right? That they're, like, comparable to All Japan. And not, like, the next level below them. But they're not. And,
no, they're not.
They just really aren't. And, yeah, I don't know where they go from here. I think this show really, like, made me feel like down a lot on GLEAT. Like I'm just like I'm probably out on them for a while until they can show me something that can like rope me back in. But like unless something big happens, this might be the last time we talk about GLEAT on the show for a while.
Yeah.
Just, like I said, it wasn't really even like a bad show in terms of like in ring, but just baffling booking up and down the card. And like you were talking about like it looking bad on the Noah show, but like this was also like a dark void show. And whenever they turned on the lights, there was no one on the hard cam side. Like it actually looked like so embarrassing. Just
Yeah.
terrible. Terrible, terrible. You had your chance. You blew it. So we'll
Yeah,
see where
in
they
the
go
mud.
from here. But
In the mud,
yeah,
Gleatis.
absolutely in the mud. Yes, GLEAT in the mud. All of them. Anyway, let's move on to something. Let's move on to something more positive. Let's move on to All Japan finally. All Japan had kind of 3 relatively big shows. I think they actually, and we're talking about like terrible drawing records, but I think actually All Japan drew pretty well for all 3 of these shows that they did recently. So let's go through them. So for the first one, from July 22nd, from Kunibike Messe Exhibition Hall in front of 937 fans, we had in the first match we had Yuma Anzai and Atsuki Oyagi go to a 50-minute time limit draw. I actually had kind of a feeling that that's how this match was going to go because yes, Anzai is a rookie, but he's a heavyweight and he was about to go TDN1, so he couldn't really lose. And Atsuki is still kind of like the top guy in the junior division. So even while he is a junior, I think that also would have looked bad if he lost to like a rookie here.
Yeah.
So this just felt like the logical conclusion. I think these two did really, really well because like I think these are 2 guys that you can also have go to a time limit draw, and I think for an opener it was really good.
Yeah. And also poor Atsuki just had to do the JOB for Hayata, so he deserved something in return. Hayata still stinks, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Didn't really. I thought it kind of lacked a level of intensity that I was looking. I felt like Atsuki reined it in a little bit more. It was a bit less high flying than normal, and obviously Yuma's still a fairly limited moveset. So there's it kind of felt like it never really peaked, and then they were like, "Oh, time's up," and I was like, "Oh, okay." So it was probably only a 3.25 star match, but it was still a decent little opener. And intriguing putting Atsuki in there in a singles match with a heavyweight because obviously he's now in the Royal Road lineup, which obviously we'll talk about in a bit. So obviously this was sort of a useful example of him being in there with a heavyweight because obviously he's going to be doing a bit more of that later this month. So.
Okay, and then the next match, Shuji Ishikawa and Ren Ayabe defeat Hikaru Sato and Ayla Blanc in 9 minutes and 20 seconds when Ishikawa hit Blanc with the Fire Thunder driver. Another good matchup. It was kind of curious that Blanc was on the losing side here. I think maybe like because he won like his first match in, but maybe like and also like what happened on like other shows, like maybe they're like having him take some lumps basically now. So which I think is fair in a way as well. But interesting nonetheless. Again, I thought it was another like perfectly acceptable match. Nothing really major to write home about. Yeah.
No, I thought it was fine. I think Blanc has looked decent in his first few opportunities, but of the French adores, he's definitely less well-rounded than Senza Volto. So, in a sense, he doesn't really need to be coming in and straight away challenging for a title, because thankfully All Japan have got enough going on with their juniors. It's not like I know Big Japan did where they brought in Endakara. Is he Swedish, Turkish?
He's Swedish with Turkish
and
roots.
he basically came in, did one tour, and it was like, right, now you're facing Kaiji Tomato for the title. And it was a decent little match, but it's like they have so little depth, they have to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas All Japan don't really have to. And I'm guessing there'll be a Junior Battle of Glory later this year.
Maybe, because normally they generally put it at the beginning of summer, but I don't know if that's shifted now.
Yeah, because I know they had the tag one, which seemed a bit weird given that they don't really have a junior tag title. But never mind. I'm guessing they might do something later in the year, and obviously then he'll be a key part of that. But yeah, he's still essentially just roster padding at this point, so it was an enormous surprise that he took he was looking up at the lights after Big Shuge killed him.
I don't know. Talking about the French adults as well. I actually saw Senza Volta yesterday.
Was that the GWF show?
Yeah, GWF show. He challenged Tim Strübing for the Berlin title. Didn't win, but damn good match. Like that one's up on YouTube as well. Like that's actually another one that like you should probably like if you're interested in like seeing Senza Volta or like Tim Strübing, who's like an like young and up and coming guy. That's well worth a watch. And the same show as well had Axel Tischer versus Mike DiVecchio. That was also another great match.
Big Mike D.
Yeah.
Here's my man.
Yeah, that match rocked as well. But
yeah, because GWF don't have my hero Kodai Nozaki anymore because he's back in Kyushu Pro.
Yeah, I saw him live. I think I was one of the few ones that knew who he was.
They drew over 4,000 people on Sunday. Kyushu Pro.
Yeah,
it's their anniversary show.
Tajiri is a draw.
Yeah, and Minoru Suzuki.
Yes. Well,
and
I mean, yes, you're saying that Minoru Suzuki is a draw, but how much did he help GLEAT on the show?
Oh yeah, sod all. But
yeah.
Again, never mind. But yeah, I really want to watch that Kyushu Pro show mostly because I love Nozaki because he's just like the most peculiarly built individual.
Yes.
He's probably the wrestler that looks most like me in terms of dimensions. So I'm like, I kind of have to root for him.
You have to live vicariously through Nozaki.
Exactly. It's like, well, I'm not taking bumps. He can take them for me. So.
Fair enough. That's what I'm doing with Okada.
Yeah. Then I'll just slag everybody else off and not taking bumps properly.
Exactly. Okay, then next match. Suwama and Dan Tamura defeat Yuji Nagata and Ryuki Honda in 12 minutes and 56 seconds. After Suwama pinned Honda after a last ride. So it was kind of a baffling result, given what we're going to do like later, because kind of after this, kind of Honda and Nagata like are going to go on a bit of like a run. So it was very weird that like in the moment I was also like, okay, like Honda's losing here, that's kind of shit, but whatever, it's not like they've pushed him recently. But then they started pushing him right on the next show. So, yeah, I really didn't get this result. In hindsight, it's baffling.
Yeah, so I had the same thing. Because at the time, I didn't think anything of it. I thought, basic 3-star tag team match, makes sense, obviously, because Suwama challenged for the Triple Crown at the end of this show. But, yeah, now that Nagata and Honda are number one contenders for the tag titles, it's one of those you look back on, it's like, why have you booked it?
Yeah.
Like, if you want them to why, like, wasn't, like, Hanabata or, Takao Mori, I know he was defending the 6-man, but, like, weren't there 2 other bottom of the card pin eaters that you could have booked them against to just give them a quick, easy win? Or, if you wanted to put Suwama over, weren't there other people that him and Dan Tamura could have beaten?
Yeah, that's actually what I've been thinking, is you switch around like participants for match 2 and 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like it's not like you like build up Ishikawa for anything with this win, right? So you could have
he's
just
already had his Triple Crown match this year.
Exactly. So you could have just done like Suwama and Dan versus like Ishikawa and Ayabe takes the fall, and then you do like Honda and Nagata versus Sato and Blanc can still take the loss there. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that
any
that
other way around as
sense.
well works. Like this was just weird.
Yeah.
Okay, and then in the All Japan TV 6-man tag team title, the prestigious titles, Takao Omori, ATM, and Black Mansoray defeat Yoshitatsu, the Almighty Inoue, and Loafer in 30 minutes and 33 seconds. When ATM pinned Loafer with a diving body press for the second defense. Whatever. Like, I don't think I even have anything really to say here. Like, this is just
it's sort
a
of
nothing
like silly,
match.
harmless fun.
Yeah.
Like, no one in the match is any good. Well, like, Black Mansoray is fine, but he's like a jobber.
Yeah.
So, Amori's washed. ATM's, a money mark.
Yes.
So it's like... And
a money mark that was also more entertaining with the previous gimmick he had as Carvelito.
Yeah, exactly. Yoshitatsu is the drizzling shits.
Yeah.
And then the Almighty Inoue and Lowther.
It was never good.
No. So it's like this wasn't any good, and it was probably too long. But it also just like it didn't offend me. That was definitely the match where I was like, I've definitely got some stuff I need to tidy up and like admin to do. So it was like on, and I was like, oh, ATM has won. Great. Lovely stuff.
Yeah.
What's up next? Oh, look, here comes Peck Daddy, Satoshi Kojima. Right, I'll sit back down now.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, and then let's go right to that match. So in that six-man tag match, Kento Miyahara, Ryu Inoue, and Rising Hayato defeat Satoshi Kojima, L. Lindemann, and Soma Watanabe in 15 minutes and 4 seconds when Miyahara pinned Watanabe with a shutdown suplex hold. Yeah, I thought this was really good on the other end. Like, I thought this was a really fun six-man tag match. Just, like, really good action. Just bam, bam, bam. I really like the interactions that Kento and Kojima have, where it's just because Kojima is, like, one of the few people that can get bigger reactions than Kento, and Kento just absolutely can't deal with that, where he is the sun, like, nobody is allowed to shine brighter than him, and it just annoys him to no end when anyone else gets cheered louder than him. So that just makes their, like, and the crowd picks up on that as well, and in response just makes their reactions to Kojima a lot louder as well. So I think which really, like, helps the whole thing as well. So, no, I thought this was really good.
Yeah. Well, actually, I won't say what I was going to say. I'll save that for later. Yeah, I thought this was a lot of fun. Just, like, really good energy. Everyone in the match is good. I love Ryo Inoue. I like genuinely, he's grown on me massively, and obviously we'll talk about his junior title challenge in the next night. Like, he's genuinely just really good now, and I think they've got something in him, and I think generally like their crop of juniors at the moment with Atsuki, Rising Hayato, who I think has come on massively. I used to think he was terrible. But he's really good now, and in a way, I think they've got the core of something really, really good. Yeah. I think that's just true of the promotion in general, because they've obviously got Anzai, Yuma Aoyagi, Hokuto Omori, Kento's still there. Like, they've got a really good promotion, and they've been good all year. And it's just nice to see them bubbling up somebody like Inoue for this title challenge. Like, he's still going to be a bottom feeder the rest of the time, but this was fun. And this was fun seeing him in there in the ring with Kojima. So, yeah, a lot of fun, really good energy, and yeah.
Yeah, and it is kind of like
Just
starting
good.
to show in attendance as well, right? Because like the unfortunate thing is that like there is like somewhat of like an upper like limit for them, right? Just because they don't like without that corporate power that like other companies in Japan have. Like, you know, like Noah's owned by like one of the biggest media conglomerates in the country, and all Japan is owned by a guy that like got lucky making a movie once. Like, this is a little bit of a difference in means, but
Yeah.
I think it is like starting to like pay off for them, like the like work that they've done over the years, like building these guys up.
Yeah. And all the shows are fun.
Yeah.
Like, I've not watched a single All Japan show this year and wanted to skip stuff. Whereas, like, the last couple of years, they've been a real trudge.
Yeah.
Whereas this year has been so much fun, and you can see that it's being booked well, and they're booking the younger guys on the come up. So, yeah, a lot of fun. And I mean, obviously, talking about younger guys, obviously, you know, the Triple Crown main event, Aoyagi making his first defense against Hokuto Omori, which, you know, two guys with a combined age of like 50.
Yeah. I think that might be one of the youngest. I haven't looked it up, but that might be one of the youngest like Triple Crown matches ever.
Yeah. Whereas when Yuji Nagata defended against Shuji Chikara, it was like a combined age of 100. So
yeah,
that was fun.
So yeah, so let's get to that match. So for the main event of that show, the Triple Crown match, Yuma Aoyagi defeats Hokuto Omori in 20 minutes and 4 seconds with the Fool for his first defense. Yeah, I thought this was good, not great. I think Hokuto, I like Hokuto. I think he's one of the guys with the best character work in all Japan, but I think he just isn't the guy that is going to give you like top of the line matches, which obviously is going to be an issue for him in a promotion like All Japan that does put a lot of stake in like in ring work. But I thought he did well here, and I thought it was a solid enough defense for like Yuma, but it was also hurt by the fact that like I mean obviously Hokuto wasn't going to win, so there wasn't really a whole lot of drama here, but it was still like a solid first defense. I feel like basically Yuma did what he had to do in the match, and then he put away his opponent, and it made him seem like a dominant champion, basically.
Yeah. So I've never been a massively high on Hokuto. I thought he was good here, but I don't think he's credible enough with the fans or just like, as someone watching it. He doesn't feel credible enough as a title challenger.
Yeah.
Yet. Now, I don't know if he was supposed to be in that position. I feel like it was supposed to be Ryuki Honda, but then they did the weird KO, not a KO angle thing, and then it was Amori in this slot. Also, I have no idea how it would have been booked at the top of the card if Ashino hadn't broken his arm in the Champion Carnival final, because I don't know if he was going to beat Nagata or he was always going to lose and then Aoyagi would have won. So yeah, I mean, various things probably put Amori in this spot, and I just don't think from a credibility point of view he was ready, which hurt it from the believability and viability of him winning point of view. But I also like the fact that it wasn't 50-50. Like the early stages of this, Yuma was like a dick, where he basically was just like, I'm better than you. And he was kind of cocky, and he was kind of gesticulating with the crowd when he'd got him in like he'd got a wrist lock or whatever. And he's kind of like, oh, Hokuto, you can't get out of this, and then whatever, which was good. Because I think if they just tried to go for like a 50-50 classic main event, it definitely wouldn't have worked. Whereas I think what they did, they told a good story within the 20 minutes they had. I just don't think it felt right for Yuma's first defense, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So probably a 3.5-star match, but the booking probably not the best thing in the world. But at the same time, it was a good opportunity to try something and do something a bit different when you're doing a weekend double shot like they were.
Yeah.
And I still think they put a reasonable number in for that show. So, onwards and upwards, and it'll be a learning experience for both guys. So,
Yeah, for me, because I feel like this was a better choice for him for his first defense than Suwama, because he can't have this kind of match with Suwama. And I think you do want to, like, if this is a long title reign, then I think you do want to have Yuma get like a dominant defense in first before you like put him against like get like mauled a bit by a bear like Suwama.
yeah,
yeah.
true.
But I think like Gocho top to like Gocho might be. I mean, it was a solid show. Like I don't think there was anything like really like blow away on the show, but it went by really quickly. Is what I would say definitely. Like nothing.
Yeah, it was a
dragged.
breeze. It was a breeze to watch. So, I can't complain. I think these little 6-match shows are a lot of fun. And generally, I just enjoy shows where there's like not massive gaps between the matches.
Yeah.
I know this is a poor example, but you watch like SummerSlam, and it's like match, 50 minutes of ads, 12 minutes to make their way to the ring. And then it's like Michael Cole squawking at you, and it's just like, oh my God. Like, if you skip everything, it takes as long as these shows do, but these just feel like in, out, couple of hours, easy watch, nothing's terrible. So, yeah, perfect. Perfect stuff.
Okay, and then for the next show, on the very next day in Osaka, Edion Arena number 2, in front of 920 fans, which that's a great number. Like that's actually like the largest attendance in the number 2 this year. So like I think big kudos to All Japan on that one. I think they can pat themselves on the back for that number. And yeah, like I said, it's really like seems like it's starting to pay off for them. Or like attendance is like showing that like they've done a good job like building guys up. They've actually even outdone like they've actually like not like I said they like outdone their own number earlier this year from the Champion Carnival. But not only that, but they also drew better than like when New Japan did a double shot there for the best of the Super Junior. So I think anytime you can outdraw New Japan, I think that's a feather in your cap.
Absolutely.
As long as it's not like a Road 2 show, which again, like that's tournament shows. And
Yeah,
not
exactly.
like
Yeah,
they
shows
put
that
like
actually have
nothing on
stakes.
top there either. Like one of the shows had like El Desperado versus Robbie Eagles on top, and the other one had Titan versus Hiromu on top. So, you know?
Yeah, they're not low like night 4 or whatever. So yeah. It's a good number.
Yeah.
It's a good number, and it was a good card again.
Mhm.
Like, 3 title matches, the return of Bodiga, and
Clearly the guy
Suwama
that is
against
the
Jim
actual
Ramzo.
draw here.
Oh, absolutely. He is the reason that number's there.
Him and him alone. No. Yeah, no, like I said, really good number. I think really encouraging signs for All Japan in terms of attendance at the moment. Okay, so then let's go into the show. So in the opener, Atsuki Oyagi and Soma Watanabe defeat Ryuya Matsufusa and Isla Blanc in 9 minutes and 15 seconds when Watanabe pinned Blanc after a Firebird splash. Yeah, again, solid opener, and we kind of continue the whole like Isla Blanc is like taking Islam's thing, but just I think a really nice like high flying opener, just good action to get the crowd going, which always a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. And I think on the point of Blanca, it's nice to see these European guys getting opportunities with All Japan, Big Japan. Obviously, Noah have brought guys in as well. But like you see, Big Japan have brought in Tristan Archer for their most recent sweeper shows, and he's looked really good there. I'm a big Tristan Archer fan, and I know Big Japan are bringing in Leighton Buzzard later in the year as well. So he's someone obviously I've seen a lot of, having probably watched more ICW in Scotland than anybody else. But he's also been getting RevPro bookings this year. He's improved massively. And it's just nice seeing them get those opportunities.
Yeah.
To do that stuff, especially obviously with COVID, like these rosters were so stuffy because it was the same guys all the time. So they just give a totally different dynamic and make matches fresher and also make these guys better. And then, not everyone's going to be a star. Like not everyone's going to pan out, i.e. like Lancelot in Noah. But you do find a Jack Morris, or you do find, a Francesco Akira when he was in All Japan a few years ago. So I think it's just really cool from that point of view. And I guess it's a sign in many ways that we're back, if that makes sense. So, I'm a big fan. So hopefully the White Eagle stays there for a bit longer and, he brings over Senza at some point.
I mean, Senza would be great, but there's actually another guy, like, if he wants a Japan tour, I hope he gets one, because I think we talked about him earlier as well. I think Mike D, needs to get booked to Japan. Like,
him in
whether
Big
that,
Japan, I think, would be fun.
God, him in Big Japan, him in All Japan would also be great. Let's be honest. I think he would, I think he fits in really well, like, pretty much everywhere. But yeah, Big Japan, him in the strong division, I think he would be great for that. I think him in All Japan, you put that guy against like Kento, put that guy against like Yuma, see him, watch him throw around Suwama would be something to see as well.
Yeah, or if he hadn't run away and left us, Yuji Okabayashi and Mike D.
Oh God, make that a tag team and have them dominate the entirety of Japan, just win all of the belts.
Yeah, or just like a traveling trio of those two and Daisuke Sekimoto.
Yeah. We finally get what we were denied when Walter decided to go into retirement instead of getting booked in Big Japan.
Exactly. We were robbed. What's that guy doing these days?
No idea.
No idea. Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. It's just cool seeing these guys getting opportunities, to be honest. So, yeah.
Hopefully get more of that. But yes, so go to the next match, and we have the aforementioned Bodyguard. Him and Izanagi defeat Takao Omori and Black Mansory in 8 minutes 43 seconds. When Izanagi pinned Mansory after Omori accidentally hit Mansory with an axe bomber. Yeah, I mean, comedy match. It was fine. The highlight was Bodyguard singing himself to the ring, as it always is.
Yeah, I mean, you're 55. I can't be expecting the fella to be like, working super hard. But yeah, it was just nice seeing him back in All Japan. Is Izanagi, is he going to be around more?
No, I think
was he one of the ones who like buggered off because of Tajiri?
Yeah, no. He wasn't the Tajiri guy. He quit on the spot because of Nosawa.
Ah, right, okay. Oh, of course, yes. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, like
so in
basically
theory,
he had
could
a
come
match
back.
in the opener, and then Nosawa popped up on the show, and he walked out. And then, yeah,
Well, yeah. In theory, he could come back.
yeah. I mean, now in theory he could come back, but I also feel like he's heavily involved with Osaka Pro. So
Yeah,
I think
he
while
is
that
the
is
light
going
heavyweight
on,
champion.
yeah, he think he's gonna be busy there, and I mean, he also realistically has done everything he possibly could have done in All Japan. He even got his gold watch reign and all of that. So I feel like they finished his story.
Yes, he
So
finished
yeah,
his story.
he won the title that his dad, Dusty
Never won.
Izanagi, never won.
Made him proud.
Made him proud. Yeah. So then in the next match, Suwama.
Izanagi, the son of a plumber.
I mean, maybe.
Well, the
I
grandson
don't
of
know.
a plumber.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Maybe he's the son of Eagle's Mask. So, no, Tiger's Mask. Sorry, wait. I keep
Tiger's
confusing
Mask.
his gimmicks. He's so many mask gimmicks. I think I lost track.
I think he's wrestled as both of them. So
Was he both of them? Okay.
yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, next match. Suwama defeats Yuma Enzai in 11 minutes 22 seconds with a last ride. I actually kinda expected this to go to a draw again, but with like Yuma going to the N1 and everything, and I feel like they might have started this to like use this to like start off like the Suwama and Yuma tag team that I still think is coming. But obviously, like Suwama got the win, and like that also made a lot more sense, like based on the fact that like yes, Suwama challenged for the Triple Crown and all of that. But yeah, solid match, but I also think nothing special either.
Yeah, it was fine. I think I assumed once he challenged for the Triple Crown the night before, I assumed he was going to win, especially because that was Human's last show before the N1. So, yeah, it was fine. It was absolutely fine. So, heated up Suwama in the right way for the title match. So, you can't really ask for a lot more, to be honest.
Okay, and then in the next match, Yuji Nagata and Ryuki Honda defeat Shuji Ishikawa and Ren Ayabe in 12 minutes and 34 seconds when Nagata tapped out Ayabe with the Nagata Lock 54. Yep, another solid match, and again, one of those where like it made like the whole decision about dropping them out on the night before like kind of baffling. But yeah, solid win. I think it got them back on track, and I think it showed that like actually the two of them actually have some decent chemistry. That I think if they keep them together a bit longer, I think they can develop something there. And I think putting him with a guy like Nagata, I think is a good thing for Honda because he can definitely learn from him. Because because Honda is still really young. Like Honda is 23. Like he's still like he will get there. Like I think like as opposed to like Inamura, like I'm not worried about Honda's future. Like they are a bit inconsistent with his board game, but again, he's 23. He'll get there.
Yeah, and I think with him, it's the same point I made that, if he had been the one to challenge the night before, he would have had the same thing for me as Hokuto, where he doesn't feel credible yet as a Triple Crown challenger. But I think teaming with Nagata, who has been nothing short of brilliant in All Japan this year, I think it's going to be a massive, massive boon for him. And look, will they win? Could they win? And then that sets up dissension between Kento and Yuma, who are presumably going to face each other in the Royal Road. So I wouldn't be stunned if Yuji and Yuki win those tag titles. Be kind of funny if they do. And then obviously you're presumably going to have the what's it called, the tag tournament at the end of the year, the Real World Tag League.
Real World Tag League,
Yeah, you can put someone together in that. Maybe that's Suwama and Yuma Ranzai. They win the Real World Tag League. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's a fun use for both guys and would go a long way to kind of developing that credibility for Honda, who, as you say, is young, but he's obviously someone they see something in. So, yeah, it's what a veteran like Nagata should be used for. So I'm all for it.
Fun fact, Omori and Honda actually made their debuts within 2.5 months of each other.
Wow.
Who do you think? Who has more experience? Who made the debut first?
Well, Omori's older. So I would assume him because he's older.
No, actually Honda. Honda made his debut in September, 2nd of September, 2008, and Hokuto Omori was the 17th of November, 2018. Yeah, both 2018. Sorry, Honda was in 2008. He would have been a literal child. No, it's. I think people might have forgotten this, but like Honda was he's a Wrestle One trainee originally.
Oh yeah, because he would have been one of the last ones, right?
Yeah, and then he came into All Japan, and they basically just young boyed him.
Yeah.
And like made him run, like basically do like a speed run through like being a young boy before like making him like a full on like roster member.
Yeah.
Because now they can claim that he is like their guy. Like similarly, like how like Okada technically didn't start off in New Japan. Like he's a
guy.
He's a Dragon System guy. The greatest Dragon System wrestler ever. I'll stand by that opinion. But then they like basically like put him in their dojo and like made him run through that, so now he's their guy, and that's basically what All Japan did with Honda.
Oh. Okay, so yeah, I definitely wouldn't have said that. I would have assumed because Omori's like, he's not sneaky old, but he's nearly 30. So
he's 28. Like he is older than Yuma Aoyagi.
Yeah, he's older than me. So, whereas Honda's got a couple of years under me. So, yeah. No, I think he's coming along nicely, and I think a little tag run would probably do him the world of good, and obviously helps them keep using Nagata as a draw, which he definitely has been. I just love him as well. I'm a Blue Justice mark, so it's nice to see him being pushed.
And good for his body as well to not be in like singles matches, because I feel like that Ishikawa match took a lot out of him. Even with all of the lying on the floor, it was great. It was great, but yeah, holy shit! I don't know if they should have taken those. I was amazing, but like man, both of them must have been hurting so bad next day.
Yeah. Ishikawa definitely needed like every inch of his body covered in Voltarol and deep heat the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not quite Tenzan or like he creaks when he moves, but
no.
I think one of my friends the other day, we were talking about Tomoaki Honma, and he said when he slaps his forehead, he's not firing up for the Kokeshi, he's trying to make sure the blood flow's still going.
And he's making sure that it doesn't just fall off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's what I would go. Yeah, but no, I think it's Nagata's been brilliant, and I think the kind of system they've got now for the older New Japan guys, where it's like you can kind of go and do what you want. Like we might need you occasionally for stuff, or like like Kojima he went to Forbidden Door to lose to Phil, but other than that, you're free to go to All Japan and do what you want, or you can go to Noah and do what you want, and there's no real pressure or whatever, and they can kind of enjoy themselves, and they feel invigorated because they're obviously getting to do more meaningful stuff than they would be in New Japan, where obviously Gedo is trying to push the younger guys. So,
So I think really it's like a win all around for everyone. Yeah. Okay, so then for the next match for the All Asia Tag Team titles in a barbed wire bat Megaton Current Blast death match, Atsushi Onita and Yoshitatsu defeat Hikaru Sato and Dan Tamura in 11 minutes and 17 seconds when Yoshitatsu pinned Tamura after a double current blast bat attack for the 5th defense of the titles. And this is going to keep going. I still like this one, but I think there's definitely diminishing returns on these blast bat matches now. They are something different on the card, but yeah, I don't know. I think they kind of need to wrap this up sooner rather than later. We'll see if they will. This also was kind of weird because Sato and Tamura were wearing gis, which I'm not sure why. I guess maybe because that covers more of their body.
Yeah, because Onita was basically wrapped like in double-sided sticky tape all over his arms and stuff.
I mean, yes, because he literally he has a broken wrist.
Yeah. These matches are not for me. Like, I'm not tuning in to All Japan TV for a firework display. And it's like, the problem is, obviously Anita's like physically very limited. And Yoshitatsu is pants. So it means there's an awful lot of standing around waiting for stuff to happen. And yeah, this just wasn't any good. Like I didn't enjoy this at all. Right. And I was just like, please just end. Like kaboom, bang, someone pin someone. And it's like, oh no, Anita's pulled him out the way. It's like, oh, come on. But yeah, either way, I feel like they've got to lose them soon. Like,
yeah,
as you say, there can't be much more for them to do. But at least it's something different with those titles, which it's kind of the same with the 6-man. Like, they don't have to matter in a sense because they are like, they're not throwaway titles. I don't think any title should be considered a throwaway title, but they're basically an opportunity for you to do something different. But at the same time, it could be an opportunity to belt up somebody else, do something with the juniors or something. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Anita's body's probably going to expire soon as well, so you probably should take him off him before I don't want to say he dies in the ring, but like it might happen.
Also, I love Hikaru Sato, but can we have someone else challenge for the belts now? Like literally
he's just going to go for like a rotating cast
out of like the
friends.
5 defenses, he's in 3 of them. Get someone else in there. I love Sato, but like, come on, man. But maybe one of them will actually work. Maybe he will convince Suwama to do it, and then Suwama will.
Or maybe the Saitos. Maybe the Saitos do it.
I mean, I actually fully expected them to win the titles when they returned from excursion, and they just never did.
Yeah, well, at least these are being used, unlike the Gaora TV one.
Yeah,
which appears to have disappeared into the ether.
Yeah, I mean, Minoru Tanaka sometimes doesn't even come out with it anymore.
Yeah, probably in a bin somewhere. So
yeah, Exo Jim Duggan will find it. Don't worry. Okay, and then for the next one, for the All Japan World Junior Heavyweight title, El Lindemann defeats Ryo Inoue in 12 minutes 19 seconds with a German suplex hold for his first title defense. I thought this was really good as well. A little bit disappointed with the El Lindemann matches in All Japan. Like I was a little bit disappointed with his when he won the title from Atsuki, and I was. Maybe it's a victim of high expectations. I thought Ryo Inoue looked really good, but I don't know. It feels like Lindemann is holding back. Don't know why, but I thought Inoue looked really, really good here. I thought he just did a great like underdog role and just taking a lot of heat from like basically throughout the entire match. But yeah, I don't know. It feels like a Lindemann felt just like a step off, which I think held the match back a little bit. But still, like really solid like title defense for him. And I think it really showed,
Yeah.
as you said, like there is something here within a way that like you can use in the future, where like he's another one of like the guys that like there is something here in this junior division that I think can be really good. And again, he's another one of those guys that is still really, really young. Like he is 20. Again, it's easy to forget because again we had like Yuma Anzai being like the super rookie from last year. But again, in a way also only as like a guy that debuted last year in January, but still. Like for him to get a title match this quickly like shows you that like they see something in him.
Yeah, exactly. No, I thought this was really good, actually. I think the match where El Lindemann won the title from Atsuki, I didn't enjoy that really because there was a leapfrog attempt early on, which they botched in that match. And from then on, the whole thing just kind of felt like one step out. Whereas this one had a far more compelling narrative to it, where El Lindemann was like this horrible, like crafty, like he's sneaking around the ring, cackling, attacking poor Inoue, like hiding under the ring. And Inoue is like this human wasp, like buzzing around, kicking him. He's all over the place. I thought it was so much fun. I think I went 3 3/4, just shy of 4 stars. Because I felt they had a little bit more in them. Because I mean, they only got about 12 minutes, so I thought there was probably more there. But yeah, this was definitely better than the match where he won the title from Atsuki. And obviously, we know where Lindemann's reign is going now. But obviously, we'll get onto that in a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. He definitely feels for me that Lindemann's lost a bit of the luster that he had last year, when obviously he was in the best of the Super Juniors and he looked really good. And I thought New Japan were going to try and steal him. But he feels like he's cooled off massively since then. And I'm waiting for him to kind of really grab me with something. This match got close, but it just kind of was missing a little bit of something. But yeah, in a way, looked really good here. And I'm really excited for his kind of prospects moving forward because, yeah, they've clearly got something with him. And he's very different from Atsuki and Rising Hayato as well in terms of the way he works and the way he comes across, which is good.
Yeah.
Because obviously it means that those three, as the future of your division, their matches are all going to have a very different dynamic, which is obviously a positive.
Yeah, he really is that embracing that like Kawada Jr. like style. So yeah, I'm. But if he really wants to do the full Kawada like experience, he needs to get like I don't know, like 75% more grumpier than he is now.
Yeah, he's still got the youthful exuberance and
Yeah.
excitement.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. He also probably not like needs to like okay, this sounds really mean, but he probably needs to like get his face bashed in because he's too handsome to be Kawada.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's not got the chiseled face
No.
that he needs.
Yeah, maybe either he gets to get beaten up real bad, or he just needs to like sit by the seaside and drink like hard liquor for like 10 years.
Yeah, or just like, you know, someone will break your nose and then you'll be sort of well on the way.
Yeah. Okay, but then let's go to the main event for the All Japan World Tag Team titles. Kenta Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi defeat Minoru Suzuki and Hokuto Omori in 25 minutes 43 seconds when Miyahara pins Omori with a shutdown suplex hold for their second defense. I thought this was great. I went 4 stars on this. I saw some people go like even way higher than that. I saw people basically say that this is like one of the best matches in all Japan this year. I don't think it really got quite to that level, but I still thought this was like just an excellent showing. I think Omori looked better here than he did in the Triple Crown match. I think that might be more of his calling, honestly. Like I think he might be a guy that like maybe he's just like a tag guy, and like especially in All Japan there is no shame in that. I don't think there's any shame in that generally, but I think especially in All Japan where like the tag titles are like the genuinely second most important title in the promotion, and are actually like put in like main events and like are expected to draw. I think that's still a really good spot for him to be in. So, and I think after this, I feel like maybe that's where like his future lies and like where he should be, because he just feels like a better worker in a tag match than he is in a singles
Yeah.
match.
Yeah, I think there's less burden on him in a tag match. You know, he doesn't have to be in all the kind of in between moments. He doesn't have to nail all of that stuff because there's 3 other people in the ring that can help with that stuff, and the story kind of tells itself. But yeah, it was nice to see Minoru Suzuki's 7-month run in All Japan finally amount to something.
Yep.
Given that he came in at the New Year shows and kind of started this semi-faction with Amori and Naruki Doi, and then they've kind of done nothing as a group of any note until now. Yeah, I thought this was really good. I didn't think it was as good as the match where Kento and Yuma won the belts from Keno and Manabu Soya. I think that's probably up there with Kento and Yuji Nagata as my best All Japan match this year. But yeah, I went notebook on this one as well. I thought it was just really good. Kento and Yuma are a fantastic team. Crowd love them. And it's going to be really fun when they lose the titles and then fight each other. So yeah, this was just fun, a really good main event, and I would say overall like a really entertaining show as well.
Yeah, I would agree on that as well. Like, you had the great main event there. You had the junior title match, and I think you had like a bunch of like other like fun stuff on here. And again, it was another like breezy watch as well. I don't think anything overstayed is welcome here either. Obviously, like as you said, like your mileage may vary in the All Asia Tag Team title match, but yeah. Again, I think, and like I said, like the number was really good as well that they drew here. So again, another success for All Japan. And then let's go to the final show. From the All Japan Summer Action Series 2023, happening just yesterday on the 6th of August 2023, from Makuhari Messe International Exhibition Hall number 7, 1,038 fans, which again is comparable to what New Japan, like it's less than what New Japan drew in the same building, but it's not far off from what New Japan drew there. Also for Fantastica Mania and Best of the Super Juniors. So I think anytime you are like within striking distance of New Japan, I think that's a success. So yeah, good job by All Japan on this number here. The setup looked a little weird, and I think they mic'd the crowd a bit badly, but again, I think you can't really argue with the numbers that they've drawn.
Yeah, like it was an enormous looking building. So obviously it kind of, the crowd were very, very spaced out. It reminded me in a way of the Big Japan show at the Budokan in May when Aoki beat Okabayashi for the Big Japan Strong title. And they're doing like a chop exchange on the outside, and there's such an enormous gap between the ring and the first row of fans. Like, Okabayashi chops him and Aoki goes tumbling around the floor, and he's basically got enough room to do like an Olympic gymnastics routine. It kind of reminded me of that, where everything seemed like miles away from the ring. But yeah, it was a good number. It was a really good crowd as well. So they love this stuff. And yeah, this was obviously a much longer and deeper card than kind of the last two we've discussed. 10 matches, a lot of external kind of people coming in with, a lot of the 2AW guys, and some of the women as well coming in. So yeah, it's a good number and a good show as well. I've not seen all of it, but I've caught up on certainly the back half of the show. So some good stuff, and obviously we've got the Royal Road announcement as well. So.
Okay, so let's quickly run through the undercard then. So in the opener, Naruki Doi defeats Ryo Inui in 9 minutes 58 seconds with a Bakatari sliding kick. So yeah, this was a really, really good opener as well. We just gushed about like Ryo Inui's potential, and I think Doi is still a really, really good worker as well. And so I think these two had like a fun like back and forth match, and again, not surprised that Doi gets the win here. Again, Inoue is still really young and really early in his career, so I think can easily still take losses like this, especially if it is to like a guy the level of Naruki Doi.
Mhm.
Then in the second match, Dan Tamura, Ryo Kawamura, and Takuro Niki defeat Renayabe, Ayla Blanc, and Chicharito Shoki when Nikki pinned Shoki after a mad splash. Yep, 6-man tag match, perfectly acceptable action. Really, again, nothing to write home about. Did like though, like Ayla Blanc like showed like some frustration to being on the losing side again. So going to be interesting if they like that's like something they develop like a bit further, or maybe we see like some like sort of like change in his in-ring style or something like that. But
Hmm.
he's definitely like it seems like that they're wanting to do something here with him. And
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting because he, on the next show, which is the kind of the last one before the Royal Road,
Mhm.
he's teaming with Rising Hayato against Naruki Doi and Naoki Tanizaki,
Mhm.
which you think he might win. That might be his first win, given where Hayato's going.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, on the first night of the Royal Road, he's in a 3-way teaming with Black Menso Ray against Jun Saito and Kono, and also against Mazada and Kaiichi Sato.
Oh God.
So he might get his first win,
Yeah.
but then he's definitely going to lose
Yes.
what could well be an incredibly ugly match.
Yeah, I'm really curious how that one's gonna go because that's a lot of very contrasting styles.
Yeah. And a lot of people that suck. So,
Okay, and then the next one, in an All Japan versus a 2AW match, Kengo Mashimo defeats Hokuto Omori in 11 minutes and 33 seconds after a referee stop when Kengo Mashimo had Hokuto Omori in Dimudo. Yeah, I'm happy to like see Kengo in All Japan again. I mean, he really was like a very regular guy like a few years ago, and then he kind of like dropped a bit off the map essentially.
hmm.
Yeah, I think he's still pretty decent. His theme is still something. I think I once described it on Music of the Mat as a cat getting tortured to death on a Casio keyboard. Um, yeah, but he's a good wrestler, and I think he did well here with Hokuto. Not an amazing match by any stretch of the imagination, but solid. Then
He
in
lost in
yeah,
the Fire Festival final, didn't he?
Kengo,
Yeah, this year.
I think he
Think he
did.
did.
Yeah, no, is the Fire Festival already over?
Yeah.
I must have missed that one then.
Oh, it's not aired yet. Okay, that's why.
Yeah.
So he was in the final against Junior Matsunaga, but the final's not airing on Samurai TV until August the 12th. So took place on the 29th, so that was why it was in my head. But yeah, it's not airing for 2 weeks. So
Fair
anyway,
enough. Yeah. 538 fans. Oof. Um. Yeah. So then next one, All Japan versus New Japan. Satoshi Kojima defeats Takao Omori in 10 minutes and 11 seconds with a lariat. Yeah. I mean, Takao Omori has kind of slowed down a lot. Kojima's still really good, but wasn't really much to this match to be honest. Omori got like a little bit of like shine in this match, but not a lot, and it was just kind of a way to like give Kojima a match on like a relatively big show, especially since he is going to be in a Royal Road, and I think he will be having a pretty prominent role there. So yeah, that was that.
yeah, I felt like with this that they'd wrestled each other in singles matches several times this year.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like they definitely wrestled each other in a singles match at least twice before this year. And I then looked on Cage Match and I'd completely Mandela affected it because the last time they wrestled each other one-on-one was 2004
Yeah, that's a while ago.
in the 01 Fire Festival. And earlier in the year, they'd gone to a time limit draw in the Champion Carnival.
Oh yeah.
So no, they haven't wrestled before this year, Andrew. But obviously, yeah, Peck Daddy getting the win, which obviously is what we like to see.
Yes.
So
So then they did a bunch of announcements after this match. we're not gonna go through like all of them because the show is already long enough as it is, and we're gonna talk about all of that stuff as well when it is actually like because they announced a lot of stuff that is also really far into the future. So, but I think really like the ones that were like of note were Eruption, challenging for the All Japan TV six-man titles, which that already before that's even happened is like instantly the best match for that title ever. So I think that actually has a chance to be good. And then also of note is that Unagi Sayaka came to the match, and she called out Kairi, who came to the match, and she is also going to be having a match in All Japan as well. Interesting because there's also really strong rumors that she is going back to WWE. So we'll see if this is actually like something maybe where she comes in a bit more regularly, or if this is just her basically doing a bit more like like fun stuff basically for her before she goes back to retirement.
Yeah, well, the thing was, I was confused about this because she announced earlier that she's taken a leave of absence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, I don't know. I don't know whether that she's taking a break from wrestling and then she's going to retire, or she's taking a break and then she's going to do more stuff for Stardom or whatever. But yeah, I mean, her coming into All Japan is pretty cool for one of the shows at Yoyogi. I know Millie McKenzie's working a show for All Japan a few days before that as well. So yeah, I still am not entirely sure where the integration with the women's stuff is going. In terms of like a title or a direction or something. But it's still, you know, a novelty, and it kind of changes the pace of the show and stuff. Yeah, I guess the other major announcement was Hiromu coming to All Japan.
Yeah. No, I mean, just real quick on the women's division as well. Like, yeah, I also don't really see like if there's like a big direction here, but I have to say that they've done a better job with it than Noah has, and I think it's also better than the GLEAT women's division. So, I mean, at least they've had like a few like storylines of like Suwama and Unagi and that kind of stuff. So at least like I feel like they've actually tried like a bit harder than the other promotions that have tried this.
Yeah.
Okay, and then speaking about that, in a special six-man tag match, Shuji Ishikawa and Team 200 kilogram, Chihiro Hashimoto and Yu defeat Taishi Takizawa, Maya Yukihi, and Ayame Sasamura in 11 minutes 15 seconds when Yu pinned Sasamura after a last ride. Yeah, I thought this was really fun. I think Ishikawa and like Chihiro and Yu, I think they make a really fun like six-man tag team. Like in terms of like having like an intergender team, I think they work about as well as you can. And actually, okay, now that I actually think about it, what are actually the chances that like Eruption like win the titles, and then we get Eruption and like this team going for the titles? Now that is instantly going to be the best match for that title. So yeah, now I think I'm talking myself into a shoot, but you know what? Like I really hope that happens because I think that actually would be something really fun to do, and you actually like have a title and like something like to sink your teeth in there with the women's division. So yeah, no, but I thought this match was good.
Yeah, I haven't.
Oh
seen
yeah,
it,
right, you have seen it. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think kind of the tag stuff is where Shuji's at best now, given his physical limitations. But yeah, I mean, the women's stuff with All Japan has felt far better integrated. You know, the Noah stuff, it's been like, here's a women's match on like, you know, their biggest show of the month. But then on the road shows, the smaller ones, there's no women's stuff on there. And then you get to the bigger one and it's like, here's a tag team match with, you know, Hibiscus, me and Jazzy Yang. And it's like, great. Like,
cool.
what are we doing? Yeah, and look, I don't know that a title belt is the answer. I feel like some kind of steer on what the project is supposed to be would be good. But certainly within All Japan, they felt far better integrated. And I guess that's the main thing. When it feels like it's a tag on or you feel like you have to, it doesn't really work. Whereas, with the All Japan stuff, like Unagi and, the women who've come over from Colours and stuff, it's felt a lot more seamless. So, yeah, I mean, that would be cool. Yeah, again, if they want to make the six-person titles feel different, Shuji Ishikawa and you being involved in that would be quite fun. So
Yeah.
I'm all aboard that train for sure.
Yeah. Okay, and then in the Makuhari Messe is on fire. Tornado Bunkhouse Megaton Current Blast Deathmatch. Atsushi Onita, Hikaru Sato, and Miss Mongol defeat Unagi Sayaka, Saki, and Yoshitatsu in 12 minutes and 30 seconds when Sato pinned Yoshitatsu after a double current explosion bad hit. Yeah, I mean, it's basically was the same match as like the Osaka show, just as a 6-man match. Yeah, I don't know. I like I said, I've generally been like more someone that likes these like current blast attachments, but there wasn't really like anything to this. Yeah, just meh.
Yeah, that was where I turned on the video file as it was like a big bang, and I was like, oh no. And then I'm like desperately trying to fast forward to like Yuji Nagata walk into the ring, and I'm like, here we go. Now I'm in. I'm in.
Okay, and then speaking of, Yuji Nagata and Ryuki Honda defeat Jun Saito and Rei Saito in 12 minutes and 40 seconds when Honda pinned Jun after hitting him with the final event. And yeah, I thought this was another like good way to build up Honda and Nagata for a tag title challenge. Also, just impressive like power stuff from Honda. I mean, getting Jun up for that final event, like that takes some real power. Like that's a big dude. So I thought that was a really good choice for like the finish because he easily could have just had like Nagata like submit one of the Saitos, but I think this like puts over Honda in a really good way.
No, 100%. Yeah, it was nice, and it sort of felt like a number one contenders match without officially being one. I know we had one later in the show, but this kind of felt like an unofficial one of those. And yeah, as I said, this Nagata and Honda team, I think there's something there, and I'm keen on it. So, yeah, I genuinely want them to win the titles now. I'm like convinced that is the direction that I want to go in.
Yeah,
So,
no, I thought that would be a good team to like put the titles on, because that way you can also kind of like split them as well, and you don't have to have like Yuma work like double shots and everything. So
yeah,
it's probably like good for like Yuma's like long-term health as well, and gives Honda something to do. So then in the next match, All Japan versus 2AW, Kento Miyahara defeats Ayato Yoshida 16 minutes and 1 second with a shutdown suplex hold. Yeah, I thought this was really good, and it just made me like they should just poach Ayato Yoshida. It's just such a waste for him to just still be stuck in 2AW. I mean, obviously at this point it has to be his own choice, right? Because like he's still there.
He's
he has
not
been there for
2AW
years.
champion anymore.
No.
He's not 2AW champion anymore because he lost that to Kohei Sato
Yep.
last month. So
Yeah.
in theory, there is no reason that he couldn't be more of an All Japan regular. I thought this was great. Like genuinely, really, really good. Kento's obviously always brilliant, but Yoshida was presented as his equal. So this kind of felt like a big time main event style match, but obviously compressed into a far shorter period. But yeah, Yoshida felt like a big deal. Some really, really fun exchanges towards the end. And then, yeah, Kento got the win. So shade under 4 stars with me, but this was great. And yeah, I had the same thought process watching it where from the moment he made his entrance and he's like shit talking a kid in the crowd, I was like, why isn't Yoshida in there full time?
Yeah.
Like he is clearly wasted. Look, I watched 2AW in the pandemic because it was literally the only thing available, but I don't understand. Like he's talent-wise, he should be doing something more. So as you say, it's probably his choice, but you would think All Japan, he can't be on big money. So
Yeah.
you would have thought they'd have the cash to be able, like, yeah.
And I mean,
know.
it's also not like All Japan runs like a schedule where, like, I don't know, maybe if he has like a job that he likes and he really just wants to do this as like a side thing. It's not like All Japan runs a schedule that wouldn't allow him to just.
No, they're mostly weekend shows, so there'd be no reason why they couldn't do that. So
Yeah. It just feels like such a waste of talent for him to just be there like all the time. It's not even that he has to like give up wrestling for 2AW. Like he could just always do like a dual thing, like you do with like Rising Hayato.
yeah,
He
exactly.
technically still has a dual contract as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, bizarre. One thing I need to say though is his theme really doesn't fit his new look. Like it really fit his old look. I don't think it fits his new look at all. Like, I
No,
think
the
it
new
needs to,
looks like proper like edgy emo.
yeah.
And it doesn't really work, but
No, and then he has this
look.
triumphant ace music, and I'm like, it really doesn't work.
Yeah, you look like a shitbag, so
Yeah.
it doesn't really. But look, work on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And
you know what? Maybe
yeah.
don't give him a new theme now on 2AW. Like give him a new theme when he goes to All Japan. You know, like they can give
just
him.
get old
Yeah.
ATM, get him to start printing off them notes.
I
Come on,
mean,
fella.
All Japan has been really good about giving people themes. Like they've generally been nailing that stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not. Yeah, no one's a patch on Kento, but look, there's a lot of good stuff in there, and yeah, bring him in, make him a regular.
Definitely. Okay, and then for the All Japan World Junior Heavyweight Title #1 contendership match, Rising Hayato defeats Atsuki Oyagi in 50 minutes and 40 seconds with the Sid Vicious. This was great. This was awesome. This was also perfectly the right decision. Like I was actually kind of afraid that they were just gonna go back to like Atsuki versus Lindemann, which really would have felt like a waste. Like I like Atsuki, but like this is Rising Hayato's time. Like I think he should beat Lindemann. I think he should become the champion. And yeah, but I think these two have had better matches, but this was still pretty great as well. Like I think I'm borderline 4 stars. It didn't quite get there for me, but yeah, just great stuff. And these two just have amazing chemistry.
Yeah, I went 4 stars on this, and genuinely, I think what took me there was I've been so sick and tired of wrestlers hitting a move that never wins them a match and then doing the full shock and awe face when they get a near fall. And it's definitely like a WWE thing that's just kind of cottoned on everywhere else. And I hate it. Like, I hate it so much because it's like, that's literally never won you a match before, so why are you shocked? Whereas here, Hayato did it once, and it was when he hit the kind of sit-down pile driver. He then rolled through and hit another one, and then Atsuki kicked out. And you're like, look, I would be shocked if he kicked out because that should be, like, he should be dead after 2 of them.
Yeah.
And then he had the look on his face like, oh my God, I literally just can't beat this guy, especially because he'd never beaten Atsuki in a one-on-one match before. So it kind of played into the story of that maybe Atsuki just is better than Rising Hayato. And then, yeah, eventually puts him away with Sid Vicious. He's put it all together now, Hayato. Like, it took a while, but he is all the way there now. I don't think he's going to replace Atsuki as the ace of the junior division, but he is all the way there now as definitely a 1B to Atsuki's 1A, in my opinion. And, yeah, I think that Yogi show start of September. He's obviously facing Hiromu in Nagaoka, but yeah, I think that Yogi show, I think he's got to beat Lindemann for the title, really. Because, yeah, I mean, the Atsuki route would have been Atsuki loses the title to an outsider. He finds his mojo again, beats the outsider, loses to a new outsider, and then they do.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a chance to do something else.
Yeah.
And then if you want to put Atsuki in there, Rising Hayato in there, look, if they're going to do a junior Battle of Glory, you can build a load of fun stuff out of that, whether that's with an Anne LeBlanc or someone else, you've got fresh matchups to do. So, yeah, big fan. Really, really good match, and I'm looking forward to Hayato against Lindemann. So, thumbs up all round.
Yeah, I think it was when I was on the Super J cast and we're talking about All Together again, where I think my comparison there was, and I know it's a lofty comparison, but it's basically like it feels like what New Japan had with like Okada and Naito, where like Atsuki is the Okada and Rising Hayato is the Naito. Where like Atsuki is clearly like the ace at the top guy, like the big top guy, but like Rising Hayato is like literally just like one or maybe just a half step behind him as like the next guy up essentially.
And the women like absolutely love him.
Yes. I wouldn't be shocked. Like I don't know how much merch he has, but like I wouldn't be shocked if it just like gets like ripped out of their hands essentially.
Yeah, they go wild every time he comes out. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's actually one
And
of
see,
the things
I think he looks like, I don't know. I think everything, the look, the makeup, the weird tartan like skater boy look. To me, I'm like, you look like a dog.
Yes.
But the women love it. And look, it's an upgrade on Atsuki's pink hair. So
And also because his ring style also like improved a lot, and he's still like laying it in as well. Like yes, he is the pretty boy, but it's not like that results in him like working softer.
not
Like he's,
working
if
light as a
anything, he
feather,
works
yeah.
harder. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
No, he's great. That's actually one of the things I'm looking forward to the most when going to Japan. Is just seeing what like the merch lines look like at like the All Japan show, and who has like the long like autograph lines and all of that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so let's go to the main event. Triple Crown. Yuma Aoyagi defeats Suwama in 22 minutes and 27 seconds with the Fool for a second defense. Yeah, this was great. I went 4.25 on this. Yeah, it's just tremendous match. I bet on some of those near falls. Because I was like, oh my god, are they actually gonna have him lose to Suwama here? I was dreading it, and I was like, oh god. I've been praising them so much, and they've been doing so well, and then it just like fall back into old like bad habits. But no, they did not. In fact, Yuma Yagi gets another win under his belt, and he puts away Suwama. This felt like either this is like the last Triple Crown challenge for Suwama, but it definitely is one of the last. Because I think that's also kind of the feeling I got from like the video package they gave him before the match as well, because it felt very like nostalgic basically. But yeah, no, I thought like Suwama really like he really stepped up. Like he kind of like this was one of those times where he turned back the clock a bit and just like he kind of mauled Yuma Aoyagi here a bit as well. But I think it's not like Yuma looked weak though. Like I think he just made a really good like champion defense, like coming back from underneath against just this like like I said, like this mauling bear basically, where he like managed to survive him and then definitively put him away, because it's not like he didn't pin him with like a banana peel or whatever. He got like a proper like good like closing stretch to like put him away definitively and like get another like really good win on his belt for this title reign.
Yeah, no, I thought this was brilliant. I went 4.25 as well. Suwama, yeah, this is a Suwama we haven't seen in quite a while. Like the whole match, he was so good. The video package, the clip of him on the motorbike, that absolutely killed me. Just because the handlebars were so high, his like hands were like above his head. And I was like, that doesn't look like a comfortable way to ride a bike. Like,
have you not seen this motorcycle before?
I've not seen it in a while, and I was just like, I don't know. It made me laugh tremendously. And then he's like laughing and joking about, all the old times and stuff. Yeah, he was brilliant. Like, he was so good here, where like the first 10 minutes, he's just like beating the shit out of Yuma. And then Yuma like battles back, and he's kind of got the speed advantage, and kind of they get back on a level playing field, and then he's able to put him away, and it did feel definitive, and it kind of felt like he had put away the previous generation.
Yeah,
that was the chapter was closed. So yeah, it felt significant. It felt important. I was delighted they didn't pivot back to Suwama. But yeah, like it was just a really, really good match. Really well worked. Exactly what that match should have been. And Suwama had his working boots on, and he was brilliant. Obviously, he can't do that all the time. And I think he probably has another couple of title challenges in him, but they're very much going to be, putting someone over. It's not, it's going to be to put Yuma Anzai over. It's going to be to maybe to help Shotaro Ashino if he kind of gets back to that point. But it's not going to be, I can't see them doing him against Kento again, for example. And it's hard to see unless there was some kind of disaster, a reality where he's champion again. So if that means he's a tag guy, then that's absolutely fine because he's clearly still got it in him. And he did the job here, and he was brilliant. And yeah, Yuma proved that he belongs at this level, which the Amori match didn't, because it was a very different kind of match. Whereas this was one where it was like, you need to be top banana, and he was. So yeah, great, fantastic stuff, and sets them up really well for the Royal Road now, which obviously will kind of tee up his next challenger.
And I think it also really helped that he drew like 3 really good houses back to back to back. Like I think that just really like just increases that the like trust All Japan has in his territory going forward.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because who knows? Like, what if these 3 houses would have been bad? Like maybe they take the title off of him here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, look, I don't know that he's going to hold it for that much longer, because of the way I think they're going to book, but he certainly proved that he belongs and he can draw as champion, which is important for going forward, because they need him to be able to, because if he can't, they're stuffed. So, well, they're stuffed until Anzai's ready.
Yeah.
So
which is going to be a while.
Exactly. So yeah, well done to the Fool.
Okay, and then let's quickly, because they announced the Royal Road participants, so let's quickly go over that and the first round matches, and maybe like our thoughts who we think is going to be the overall winner. So the participants and the first round matches, I think I'm just going to roll it into one because we're closing in on 3 hours now. So the first round matches for the Royal Road 2023 are Dan Tamura versus Kotaro Suzuki, Shuji Ishikawa versus Ren Ayabe, Hokuto Omori versus Takuya Nomura, Satoshi Kojima versus Rei Saito, Jun Saito versus Hayato Tamura, Suwama versus Fuminori Abe, Kento Miyahara versus Atsuki Aoyagi, and Yuma Aoyagi versus Ryuki Honda. So the first thing that I'm thinking when I'm looking at this is like, I think Honda is gonna upset Yuma. Because I don't think you want to do Kento versus Yuma in the second round here. Like, I think that's a match you're saving. And again, if Honda is challenging for the tag titles, I think giving him an upset win over Yuma here makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like I think there's 2 potential matches I see here for the for like the final of the show. I think Kojima is going to come out of his side of the tournament, and then I'm thinking the other side is either going to be Kento or Suwama.
Okay. Yeah. So my only reservation is that Honda beat Yuma in the Champion Carnival. And the tag title match is scheduled for the night before. So that, well, on the opening night of the tournament, that's the tag title match. And then Yuma against Honda is the main event of second out of the tournament. So I don't know. I guess Honda's not winning both. Like he's going to win one, I guess. So I feel like they win the tag titles and then Yuma gets his win back the next night. But that, in theory, in my head, it's a Kojima Miyahara final. Miyahara gets his win back from the Champion Carnival. Miyahara then beats Yuma for the title in Yoyogi on the 8th of September. And then I think on the New Year's Eve show, they do Miyahara Nakajima, and Miyahara gets his win back.
I could see that. I don't think Miyahara versus Nakajima needs a title. I think you can do that match without a title as well.
I don't know. Part of me feels like they obviously want a big number for New Year's Eve.
True.
And Nakajima, Miyahara would definitely give them that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they would be doing it in a bigger building in Yoyogi. So,
look, I'm not
that's where
opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that. I will be there for that show. So
Yeah.
if you give me Kento versus Nakajima in a Triple Crown match, I'm not
Yeah.
going to complain too much.
They're definitely
I'm
running
fine
it
with
back.
that.
Well, the only alternative I could see would be Kojima maybe winning
That's what I'm
the
thinking.
Champion Carnival. Aoyagi beats Kojima in Yoyogi, and then Ashino comes back from his broken arm, and it's maybe the New Year's Eve show or before.
Yep.
Is
That's what I'm thinking.
Aoyagi, Ashino, and then Miyahara Nakajima underneath or on top. You know, that's the kind of 1-2 punch. So I think that's intriguing. Obviously, I mentioned before about Hayato Tamura and Jun Saito. That felt like a very deliberate booking to me. I also imagine at least one of the astronauts has to win. So I'm assuming Takuya Nomura beats Amori.
Yeah, I think that's safe.
I guess the other interesting thing is just that Shuji Ishikawa and Ren Ayabe have been teaming together basically all year. And now they're facing each other in the first round. So that was obviously a cool thing as well. But yeah, I think this is a really fun little tournament. I think it's refreshing.
One of the best fields they've had for the tournament as well.
Yeah, there's no duds in it for sure. And I also think it's really refreshing that obviously like the N1, the G1, they're very long and like you definitely kind of hit the wall of fatigue, which is definitely where I'm at with the G1 at the moment. Whereas with this, it's literally 4 shows.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get tired of it. It's 4 shows over the space of like 8 days. And there's a 5-day gap between the second round and then the finals night. So it's like, you're not going to feel like, oh my God, I'm behind, I can't keep up with it or whatever. It feels like it's going to be really a nice, tight tournament. All the matches, I would imagine, are going to be good at a bare minimum. And yeah, I think there's the chance for some of it to really, really good. And yeah, I guess that's the main thing is just Miyahara Nakajima is definitely happening again, the way the post-match went in their first match at One Night Dream. So they're definitely running it back, and my assumption is they're running it back in All Japan on New Year's Eve. So it's basically just, do you position Kento for the title so that it's a title match and Kento gets his win back defending the Triple Crown? Or do you let that run on its own and let Yuma continue this reign with the Triple Crown and basically pivot back to Ashino and possibly where you would have been in May if he hadn't broken his arm? So yeah, I think it's a really fun lineup, and even though it feels like there's an obvious kind of outcome, I think that it's still going to be intriguing to see the way that they go. So,
and it also feels like there's really like, because obviously Suwama has just gotten his Triple Crown match, right? Like, I don't think there's really like a wrong way to go here as well.
No.
So like I think that's like really nice. Though. Like there's many like different outcomes here, and I think all of them like are potentially good.
Well, other than a Saito v Saito final, obviously that would be good.
Yes, but like that's I have very large doubt that's going to happen.
I think if that did happen, I'd never watch wrestling again. So
I'm thinking, what is like the least likely final here? I think the way
it's got to be
blocks
Saito v Saito.
No, I'm thinking more like Abe versus Ayabe.
Yeah, or like Kitaro Suzuki against Atsuki, because then Atsuki would probably have to beat Kento and his brother and Suwama.
The Atsuki Oyagi push is real.
Yeah, it's like every bit of his body's falling apart, and then there's like Kotaro Suzuki's like, "Hello,
He just
I
gets
want my win back now."
mauled 3 nights in a
Yeah,
row.
he just wants his win back. Yeah, exactly. So I guess that'd be funny as well. I think Ayabe against against Jun Saito probably, but yeah. But I just think it's a fun little tournament.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, obviously I know Kento won it last year. So I don't know if they want him to win it again. But look, it's Kento. Like if he wins and he wins the Triple Crown, I'm not going to complain, because obviously it also ties into the kind of long-term story with him and Yuma not really being able to beat him. I know he beat him in the Champion Carnival. I think it was last year. Or am I wrong? I might be wrong on that. But
I beat him this year.
It was this year.
Yeah, in the opener.
Yeah, well, of course it was. Yeah, so obviously I know that's their story. So if Yumi loses again, I think that's an interesting way to continue the story, because he's still been to the mountaintop. It's not like he lost another title challenge. Because I think that then means that the next time they do it, he's definitely going to win.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think there's a wrong way to go. And obviously just delighted to see the astronauts getting bookings for this, because they're the best. So
no, they rock. Okay, so with that, let's wrap things up. So plug your things, please, Andrew.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at amsinclair97. I'm not calling it X because I'm not a reprobate. And you can read my work at voicesofwrestling.com. Obviously, previewed Block B of the N1, and also regular Impact Wrestling and MLW coverage. Although I've committed myself to that, I don't really know that I want to watch a Mance Warner, Matt Cardona kiss my foot match, but I probably will. And if I do, everybody needs to hear my takes. So yeah, that'd be me, Voice of Wrestling, the occasional wrestling tweet, or you can find me in the Voice of Wrestling Discord.
And I'm also looking forward to meeting you in person later this month.
This is very true, yes. Everybody congregating in the East and North London for All In and Rev Pro. Can't wait to see Adam Cole, baby, and MJF. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. It's going to be very cool to see so many people kind of congregating in one place for one thing. And yeah, nice to meet you as well, good sir, after we've exchanged several hours of dulcet tones about Lance Anoa'i and GLEAT. So.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll be back. We'll see, probably in 2 weeks, where we'll have a lot of N1 and kind of the first. Well, most of the Royal Road probably is done by then already as well. So yeah, we'll see when we record next. At the very least, sometime in 2 weeks. So see you then.
Music. It's not just part of our daily lives, it's part of our wrestling fandom as well, and it has been for decades. That's where this show comes in. Music of the Mat, the podcast devoted exclusively to the music of pro wrestling, hosted by Andrew Rich. Hey, that's me. Each episode delivers a different topic with a variety of great guests, fun conversations, musical analysis, and of course, a heartfelt pun or two. New episodes drop every other Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice. Check out Music of the Mat only on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, my name is Jesse Collins, and I want to tell you all about my show, the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. On the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, we do a thorough analysis on the biggest issues and trends within the pro wrestling industry. We talk a lot about pro wrestling media, we talk a lot about fan culture and wrestling's place within general pop culture, and we talk about the broader influences that are shaping the way we discuss and analyze the pro wrestling industry. We've had some of the brightest minds in the pro wrestling intelligentsia on the show, including WrestleNomics host Brandon Thurston, both Rich Craich and Joe Lanza from the Flagship Wrestling Podcast, Trevor Dame from the Through the Years podcast, and a whole lot more. This isn't a show for hot takes. It's not a show recapping the latest episode of television. This is a show focusing on the biggest topics in pro wrestling and doing a deep dive on the real stories behind the surface level analysis you might find elsewhere. The Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts, and we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a try. Thanks.